Hi, good evening, and welcome back to my podcast. My name is Swamp Rose, and tonight I'm continuing my podcast where I cover the IDAHO4 case, otherwise known as the case against Brian Koberger. And tonight I'm just going to turn the floor over to my good friend AR, and he's going to introduce our show for you tonight. So please give a warm welcome in the chat to my two guests, Warning Label Nina and Albert from AR, from A Convict's Lots. Sorry.
Yeah, Albert from AR. That one's new. I love it. I gotta go with that. Ladies, how are you today? I know Swamp probably just put us on mute, Nina, didn't she?
It's kind of my thing. Nina's on mute. She mutes herself. Here, I'll unmute.
Everybody's on mute. So it's just me talking to myself with you guys listening and laughing behind the scenes. That's amazing. That's amazing.
You know I got your back.
I appreciate that very much. So just to get everything started, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I've been running frantic since last night when I learned a little bit of new news that I did not know, and I've been working diligently behind the scenes to try to learn more about a certain situation with somebody that's been discussed very highly throughout the YouTube world. And I am one that has stood steadfast, and I know Nina has as well, and I know Swamp with her big heart has as well, as many people within the chat. And we're talking about Cara Northington, which is Xana's mother. And of course, we got to start by saying that the 2-year anniversary, I think, was difficult for everybody that truly cares about this case, because it does remind us exactly, what actually happened, the tragedy that happened. And I know many people speak of that tragedy in many different ways, but it still touches all of us. I know Nina has been through the experience of losing a loved one, like many have. And, it's just a very hard thing to endure. So I know many people yesterday were, very on edge in regards to 2-year anniversary. I did get a little bit of good feedback in regards to the live that I did with Harsh Reality. I do know some people did reach out to me and were a little concerned that we didn't pay more attention to the actual victims rather than discussing the case itself. But, we went with the flow. That was a very last minute live, and it was a good one. It was something that we put together very quickly, and it literally was Harsh Reality's first time ever bringing anybody on his show. So I felt really I guess privileged to be able to do that, even though some people didn't think it was a good idea. I felt privileged to do it. So, Swamp, I want to thank you for having me here. And I know this is kind of an eye-opening situation to many out there. I'm just going to break a little bit of news in regards to Cara. Her situation has changed. I'm not going to release out exactly what has transpired because, like I said, I've been working on it all night. I've been all day talking to people within her camp, and I'm learning things quickly. And even though I'm excited for her and I'm very happy for her, I'm also very nervous and I'm concerned. And that's why I don't want to get too in depth into a lot of things as of yet. And I know people within the YouTube community are they're going to start breaking the news, and they're going to start talking quickly about it, and it's going to become a frivolous thing. But I just want to let everybody know out there, she's in good hands. She does have people that really are helping her, and soon I hope that I can give you more information, and she can help share that information. I guess that's about the best I can do with that. But please be careful with what you hear coming from others that are going to begin speaking on things and releasing information. We got to be very careful with that, and we got to be knowledgeable that not everybody has all of the information correct, and that they're going to share things that are not real and true. And then hopefully here very quickly we could rectify those and get the truth out there and let people know. So Ladies, I'm sorry that I kind of jumped in and took over the immediate part of the live here, but I wanted to get that out there that there is going to be things flying very quickly. I've already seen somebody try to introduce what's going on and they failed pretty bad. So everybody just kind of keep your eyes and ears open as you're going to hear a lot of things that are not going to be correct very quick. So
Now,
moving
AR,
forward.
I know you knew exactly what I was thinking. You so you were told that there were limits to what you could say. Were you also saying that we're not going to be talking about her name anymore on our channels? Just as is that what we've
No,
been
no,
told?
no, no, no. You're more than welcome to speak about her. You're more than welcome to discuss your feelings about her. You can discuss things that you feel appropriate. I just want to let people know, with everything that I've been working with behind the scenes, I would be very careful of what you say in regards to her charges, uh, and other things related to that. As you guys know, I walk a very fine line in when I do discuss Cara. Um, People know that I care very much about her, that I care about her situation, but there's more to the story, and I just want people to be careful with what comes out and what's immediately stated, because there's going to be some false information and I already know it's going to happen. And I can't let out what I want to let out. That's not my position to be able to do that. So that's all I'm asking. Let's just be careful with, if somebody releases information, which we know is going to happen. This is YouTube. We know it's going to happen. Be careful reiterating that information. Does that kind of make sense?
It really does. And I have to commend you, because you're going to be in a tough position, because you know so much and you're so close to the case, and you're bound and not able to say anything or anything in her defense. So I just want to also applaud you for everything you've done for Cara and being a rock for her in certain ways. So thank you. And I appreciate your coming on this show and straightening this out, because all we can do is just get a little bit of ahead of the story and say, if you trust us as creators, just let us, trust us that there's some things. AR personally spoke with her attorney, and there are, we can't
Well,
talk
I'll give you a little more to it than just that. Jennifer and I have obtained counsel ourselves as of an hour ago to protect us from what could possibly be a wave of a situation through, I guess, YouTube and other avenues that may stem from this. So we are, and it's not anything that we feel as though we've done or been involved in. It's a protection measure. So we did obtain counsel, and I think I told you, Swamp, you and I were kind of messaging back and forth behind the scenes. I had treatment this morning. I had things I was going through, but while doing that, we were scrambling to not only learn more information that I literally was working on throughout the entirety of the night, but we were obtaining counsel as well. So we now are protected as well by some, I guess, lawyers ourselves. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes in YouTube, it does get to the point where you do need an attorney, and it stinks, but it is what it is. So, but I'm glad you have some counsel too, because it's difficult. It's difficult waters to navigate. Because you're also, well, anyway, Nina, we haven't heard from you yet. I know you have been intensely studying the program that Cara has been in, and I've just thought maybe you had a couple of words you'd like to chime in with. We've kind of taken the floor from you this whole time. Do you have a couple of things you'd like to say?
Well, I come with a warning label, so AR, shoot me a look or a hey, stop if I'm about to say something.
No, you run with what you've got. I'm intently listening because I would love to hear about the program as well. This is all about learning, and I believe that with your research skills and also your background, you're somebody that could literally help teach people like myself something that we've never been involved with. So I'm definitely excited to hear what you have to say.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to address the IDOC rider program. Okay. I mean, we're just going to take Cara out of it, and I'm just going to discuss my research concerning the rider program. Okay.
Okay.
And this is so everybody can understand. I have to say it one time. But anyway, Cara's IDOC is 2224. If you do the math, this is 9 months, okay? And they have 3 programs, okay? The most extensive program is the therapeutic program, okay? That involves counseling, that involves group counseling, and extensive rehab, okay? And that impressed me a lot because with me being a recovering addict and being an advocate for getting people rehab when they need it, I know rehab. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is the rehab that they have in the therapeutic, it's not like just a 12-step program, you know, and don't get me wrong, 12-step programs are great. They go into the cognitive behavior, everything about it, because what we always need to remember is the drugs and the addiction is not the problem, it's just the symptom, okay? For addiction, everybody is like, oh, the drugs are the problem. Okay, the drugs are the problem and the addiction is the problem. But what caused that problem? Okay, what are we as addicts trying to fill a void, trying to feel about us? What are we trying to compensate for? Okay, that we become dependent on that drug and become addicts to where I guess that would define us in a way, because once an addict, always an addict, AR, once a convict, always a convict, I mean, and I'm not saying that against you. I'm just saying that's the facts of life, but with the therapeutic program, it is 9 to 12 months. Okay. Now, if you go from February to November, that is 9 months. Okay. But what I want everybody to understand is this is not 9 months of just, oh, wow, I didn't go to prison in the prison yard, okay? This is 9 months. They're in class and stuff like that from 6:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And yes, they may do a painting because there is such thing as art therapy. They may work in a garden because there is such thing as horticultural therapy. There's music therapy. And the thing about it is that therapy, anything you do that can help you express your emotions, that can help you get all the anger out of you. Kiki, you offered to me, I'll be transparent. The video I did, of the poem I wrote, you picked up on the anger. Kiki came to me and she said, I can help you figure out a way to release that anger. That's a therapy. It doesn't matter if it's picking up poop. If it helps you deal with your emotions and helps you get off drugs and it keeps you clean and it makes you be accountable and transparent. That is the 2 most important things, is being accountable for your actions. Stop being the victim. Throw that damn victim card away. In 2012, headed to Louisville, Kentucky, I threw my victim card, and hey, y'all, let me tell you, I had a gold victim card, okay? I was a VIP in the victim squad, okay? and I threw my victim card out the window. And you have to get out of the mentality of being in active addiction. Now, once you tackle that, now keep in mind that she's doing this while trying to grieve her daughter. Now, for me, when I buried David, yes, I stayed clean from burying him while burying him, but I got clean in 2012. He died in 2019. So I had 7 years being clean under my belt. We're talking about someone that is in the throes of addiction, that's trying to go through the guilt, the regret, the, oh my God, I'm never going to have a chance to make up all the mistakes I made. You know, anything like that. So they have the grief counseling and stuff like that. So the way that it works is, we're going to say the 3-month program, okay? The 3-month program equates to 3 years. The 6-month program equates to up to 6 years. And then the therapeutic program, which is 9 to 12 months, do the math. If it stands at like what I've said, you're talking anywhere from 7 to 12 years that if she did not do the program and come through it stable and to where they thought that she had benefited from the program, they would have shot her straight over to the prison yard, and she would have done her years of being in prison. But don't think that they do this out of the goodness of their heart. They didn't sit there and say, "Aw, poor little addict, we're going to help them," okay? No. For each person that goes through the 3-month program, I need y'all to hear that. The 3-month program, one person saves Idaho $58,000 a year. Now, 1,500 people go through the rider program a year in Idaho, and they're not all 3-month programs, just like the person we're talking about was on the most extensive, okay? Because it can be up to 365. It can be up to a year. Okay, so, but if you take the person that's on the 6-month, they save $117,000 a year. So don't think that these states are doing it out of the whole kindness of their hearts. They're doing it to keep beds available, well, cots, I don't even know if you call them beds, but to keep space available in the prisons for the non-violent criminals that they do not think can benefit from the programs. And come on now, if you got 1,500 people, I said the other night on my live, if you do it at a 60% success rate, that's 900 people graduating a year. If every one of those graduate on the 3-month program, forget the others, that's 900 people saving them $58,000 a year. I think that's like way up in the millions when I did it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I can interject a little bit to that, because obviously, you know, when I was sentenced into DOC, and the various different states that I went to had different regulations, but the number one thing we always knew is there's what's called program yards, which is exactly what a lot of these people go to, both for narcotics, but also for DUIs. So you have these, they're deemed to be minimal security, but the thing about it is they actually have a lot more structure on those yards, and they're way, I want to say they're far more strict than even a medium yard in the DOC, because if you mess up at all, not only do you lose your place on that structured yard that's cutting down, the different things of your sentence and then getting you out earlier, but now you're going to lose your good time, and they're going to go back to your sentence, because they could structure it on these program yards. Like you said, 3 months equals X amount of years knocked off your sentence. So I literally saw a lot of people that were coming back from those yards to the normal yard, and I'm shaking my head going, man, you had every opportunity to not only better yourself, but get back out there to your family in a more timely manner. And you couldn't, you couldn't get through it. But a lot of people don't understand. It's hard to overcome the addiction. It's hard to overcome even the hooch. The DUI yards were known for people violating on hooch and different things. So it frustrates me when a lot of people come across and say how privileged these people are and how easy it is, because it's really not. It's not as easy as what people make it out to be. Maybe they're less dangerous, but they're not easier. And one slip up and you're right back into the dangerous yards. And that's why it frustrates me when anybody wants to come across and say any level of the penitentiary could be easy. It's easy time. It's easy. No, it's not. You're still locked up. You don't have your freedom. Your family is, desperate to be able to see you, talk to you, and there may be times you go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks without even being able to make a phone call. This is not easy time, and I don't care what level you're on. It's not easy time. And I kind of make I make people laugh when I say, my easiest time was maximum security lockdown, where I only came out of my cell maybe an hour a day, and I rarely went to rec, and it was my easiest time because I was stable in my position in my cell. I didn't have to worry about when's rec, when's chow, when's shower time, when's this, I was locked down, so it didn't matter. The more freedom you got, the harder prison is, in my opinion. You got to worry about a job. You got to worry about disciplinary. You got to worry about what the officers are going to be doing to your cell when you're out at rec. They're going to be tearing your cell up. They're going to be. I've been through this. I know all about. I can tell all the stories of. You just have no inner freedom. Even it doesn't even matter the freedom that you can't walk around outside. It's inside of you. You still have no freedom. People on these program yards are being told what to do constantly all day long, and if they buck back at that at all, if they come back and say, nope, I don't want to go to school today. Nope, I don't want to go to counseling today. No, I don't want to go over here. Guess what? They're out of the program. They lost their good time. They're back on a normal yard, and they probably are getting disciplinary action against them to where they may not even be able to make a phone call for a year. You never know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nita, but I absolutely agree with you that these programs, some of these people that are able to accomplish these, it's amazing to see. I didn't ever have a drug issue. I never had, I've never had DUI. I've never had anything of those. So I would never be eligible for those type of programs. But I've seen the people that are involved in those and the intensive work that it takes to successfully complete that. And it's rare. It's absolutely rare for somebody to be able to do that. And anybody that's able to, man, I got more respect for those people than most, because I couldn't do it. I guess
what, I didn't mean to cut you off, AR. I'm sorry.
You didn't cut me off at all.
I guess, if you've never been through addiction, I'll tell you one little bitty short story. When I lived in Louisville, there was a bad batch going around. And instead of people being too afraid to purchase and do what their DOC was, they literally drove to the emergency room parking lot so that if they did get that bad batch, they were at the hospital and could get help. That's how strong addiction is. Instead of saying, oh, well, I think I might skip it for a couple of weeks, no, it's okay. Well, we'll just go to the emergency room, and that way, if we get a bad batch, we're at the hospital and they can help us. That's what addiction is.
Well, I'll tell you, and I'll add to your story a little bit. And Swamp, I don't mean to leave you out of the whole conversation, so I'll definitely, just make my quick little interjection. I want to hear from you too. But I had a cellie. I was in a closed custody cell in Arizona, and it was the first time that I had actually gotten a cellmate in quite a while. So I wasn't used to it. But we got to talking a little bit, but I never realized how into the black tar, which if people don't know what that is, it's H. He was, and one day we're sitting there, and he says, "Hey, can you help me out real quick?" And I'm like, "What's up?" I'm thinking help him make his bed or something crazy because he was always kind of slow and tired. And I said, "What can I do for you?" And he hands me this makeshift rig that's made out of, like, it seems like just scrap garbage that you find on the yard. He goes, "I need you to shoot me." And I'm like, "Shoot you? What? What do you want me to do?" And, the thing is, like, I knew what he wanted me to do, and I wasn't wanting to do it, but I was like, "All right, dude, whatever." And then, so you're thinking arm, you're thinking leg, you're thinking the normal places. He goes, "No, man, all that's done. Like, you can't do that there. You got to shoot it in my neck." And I looked at him, I said, "You want me to stick this into your neck?" And he goes, "Yeah, absolutely." And I was thinking to myself, how desperate for this are you? Like, and he says, "This is what I live by, man. I can't go without this." So even though all of his veins were blown and he had no capability anywhere in his body, he was still willing to have somebody he had never met, no inkling who I was, no day, I was actually coming into that cell because of what I had just done on the yard to somebody else. So it wasn't a good scenario for him. And he wants me to shoot him up in the neck. And I'm like, this is amazing to me to think people are this desperate. But that's right, exactly what you're talking about, Nina. They're willing to go to any depth for that addiction, that nothing else matters. Nothing. And I learned that with that guy.
Yeah, the neck. I mean, I know the chat's like the neck. My daughter, thank goodness, she is now 4 years clean. And y'all, please keep in mind that we lived on Meth Mountain. And I mean, A&E made like a documentary about where we live. And so anyway, my daughter's with her best friend, ride or die. I mean, this is like her right arm, and they go to do their stuff. And Tamla tells her, don't, and Tamla, don't mind me saying her name. Anyway, I don't call her that. I call her Lucy. That's another story. So Lucy tells her, don't do it in your neck because you know that, you're having problems. Well, unfortunately, her best friend didn't listen and she did it in her neck. And in front of my daughter, it hit her brain and she was brain dead right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the neck is scary. The neck is scary. And for a little guy like me, and a lot of people, have heard a lot about my background, but a part of my background that was never really in play is I wasn't around stuff like that. I wasn't. Oops, shit. Sorry, guys. I wasn't around like the drugs and the stuff of that nature, so I didn't know anything about that stuff until I got to the penitentiary, and then it's a big wham bam. Thank you. You're gonna learn this quick, and it's like, wow, eye opening. So. And I try to tell people in the penitentiary the habits and the availability of just about anything you want is there. You can get it in a heartbeat.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because when I found out about her going to the program, I was so glad that she did not go to the prison because, I mean, I do not think. I mean, she could be a whole lot stronger than I think I could ever be, But if I had just lost my daughter and I was in active addiction and I went to prison, I would take advantage of everything in there.
Well, and that's the thing. You can get anything and everything. You can accrue a debt. You can do it's the worst thing in the penitentiary, the revolving situation of narcotics. I mean, it's sad to watch. Thankfully, I never used, but let me tell you, I handled a lot of stuff for people that got in debt with it, and so I'm glad that the judge was willing to look at her situation and say, I'm going to give you this one shot to do this. And that was the right decision. That was absolutely the right decision, because if you put someone like that, if you put them on a yard, they're not quitting. If you're an addict and you're still using and you get put on a yard, you're not quitting. That's it. You're not. You're just going to find yourself in outright debt. You're going to be strung out. I mean, I saw more ODs and stuff in the penitentiary that I did on the streets. And, I watched people's bodies being laid in the hallways for up to 48 hours, they'd passed. It's sickening. It's sickening. But that's what the game is. That's what the game is. So I'm just glad that programs are available to people that need them and deserve them and get that shot to utilize them, because it does actually change people's lives. Not all, but some.
Well, I mean, do you know when my son decided that he was ready to call it quits and fight for his life? He was laying in the hospital bed on a Sunday. He got put in the hospital on a Friday with no right side function in his heart and 16% heart function in his left side. I'm so thankful for the 5 days I had with him. But then I think about my baby laying there knowing the prognosis, just not knowing when it was going to happen. Now, keep in mind that when I got there, he's hooked up to like just the small heart monitors, none of the major stuff. He's sitting up in his bed, he's talking, we have conversation. Not one time did it ever enter my mind that my son was dying. You know what I'm saying? Because when you think of something that severe, you think of them laying there, on a breathing machine, and they're fixing to take their last breath. You don't imagine sitting on the side of the bed holding your son having a conversation. And of course, being a mother, who wants to sit there and really, I was probably in denial the whole time, but it took my son's heart 5 days. 5 days. He laid there in that bed. And on Sunday is when he said, I want to live. I want to quit. And by then, him and God had already worked out a deal. And in no way did God take my son. My son's free will took my son. And I can't even say free will. My son's addiction took my son. Okay. God had nothing to do with it. We all have free will, So that's addiction. And I'm so thankful. And it makes me want to cry. And y'all, I have never, ever even spoke to Cara. Never a letter, never a word, nothing. But I feel so connected to her because of the loss of a child. And do not get me wrong, the way my son died and the way Xana died, 2 totally different scenarios, but it's still burying your child, But I guess the addiction, the losing the child, I feel so connected to her. And I just want to hug her and tell her that we're going to get through this.
And I think that's where I've got to give you the utmost respect, because there's one thing as a YouTube content creator, and I'm sure Swamp understands this as well. when we come on and we discuss these cases like this, somebody's family member has lost a loved one, whether it be a mother lost a daughter or a son. Somebody has lost somebody, and it's painful. I myself, I haven't been around family loss very much. I mean, I've been around some, but not enough for me to really, I guess, put it into my mind and say, God, this is so painful. I could give you this experience and this feeling, and this is how you have experienced loss in the same way that a lot of these families have. So when you speak upon the feelings and the things that you've endured, it's meaningful to somebody like me because I haven't experienced that. So I live kind of through you, and I appreciate that and I respect you for even having the strength and the ability to discuss that. Because in the back of my mind, and I've thought about this before, if I were to lose my wife, any route, it doesn't even matter how I lost my wife, whether it be a tragedy, whether it be a health situation, whatever it might be, I don't think I could talk, period. Like, I would be mute. I would be lost. I would be compartmentalized. I would be buried. Maybe not even wanting to move forward. It just wouldn't even be something I wanted to continue because that's how much it meant to me. And I know that's how much your son meant to you. And I know that's how much, even though there was a division between, Cara and some of the family and stuff of that nature, they cared about each other. That's still your child. So I got to give you a lot of love. I got to give you a lot of respect for everything that you've been able to get through and to continue sharing the word with others and trying to help them. So big hugs to you, Nina. Big respects. Even if we disagree on many of things, which of course that's what we as humans do, just know I love and adore you for everything you stand for and everything you are. And you've always got my respect. You've been through stuff I couldn't even imagine even trying to overcome. So much love to you. Much love.
Damn it, AR. Now I got to get the tissue.
Well, we've all had to get them listening to your stories. And I can't thank you guys enough for being open and willing to talk about those experiences. It's a gift to people watching. And there's people watching who need to hear that. I heard a couple things you guys were saying. I just wrote down. I thought I just wanted to speak on for a second. Like the first thing that I thought of when you were talking, AR, and you too, Nina, we were talking about an easy time where Cara was staying, or what other inmates might describe as an easy time. And I remember watching one of your videos recently, AR, and you said something along the lines of, well, translating that into normal person English, that means that block had hot water, or that block had a functioning building. Like you said something along those lines. And I think people don't put it in perspective when they say that one block of the jail is having an easier time or a more privileged time than another. It's typically something along those lines. I don't know if you want to say something before I go on to my next point, because I don't know.
Yeah, let me just kind of I want to validate a little bit with a story based upon exactly what you're talking about privileges. Where people out here look and say, okay, well, this building had hot water. This building gets to go out to rec more often. So they start to symbolize, why would those people have more privileges? So I, for the very first time in my life, again in Arizona, had earned my way down to a minimum medium yard. So it's still considered a medium yard, but you get more privileges as if you're on a minimum yard. They're kind of testing you to see if you get to go to a minimum or if you're going to have to stay on a minimum or on a medium. Of course, me coming from a high yard, I like the high yard. So I went into that situation, said, I'm just going to cause a big disruption. I'm going to create an issue, and I'm going to go back to the maximum yard. I don't want to be here. But then I realized when I walked out that yard, it was like, okay, this is actually a little bit better. I have my own shower. I'm not showering with 3 people at one time. I have my own shower. I'm able to go to the bathroom by myself rather than having 4 other people standing next to me going to the bathroom. I get strip searched only 3 times a day here compared to 7 times on the other yard. I don't have to walk through. Go ahead.
I said that's defining the privilege. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I was just emphasizing what you were saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But the thing about that, like a lot of people correlate that as, well, you had to give something up to get that. And in my experience, it's not, I had to give anything up to get that. I had to earn it through my behavior and also through the classification process. And that, I want to help people best understand the classification process and the way that it works through disciplinary and why certain people are on certain yards. Yes, murderers can go to minimum yards. They just can't leave the yard to go to work. They have to be within a fenced area and stay there. Doug Grant, who is convicted murderer, Phoenix, Arizona, he was a major trainer for the Phoenix Suns, ended up killing his wife. It was an odd story. You can see it on 48 Hours. You can research it. He attempted to take her life numerous times and then finally succeeded. Got an 8-year sentence and did 6 years of it on a minimum security yard. I know that because that was the first time I went to a minimum yard, and my wife and his new wife and came in at the same time, and we all got to meet each other. So, you know, prison is structured based upon your ability to control yourself and not create havoc and get into disciplinary issues. Don't go get tattooing, tickets. Don't get caught smoking in the bathrooms. Don't get all these infractions. And you have the capability of going to better yards, having better jobs, eating better food, getting hot showers, getting the more like closer to real life atmosphere because you're working your way to being a normal human being. So, I don't want to call anybody like you had to be a snitch to be on these type of yards, because maybe you'll find 1 or 2 on that yard, but 99% are normal, everyday human beings that are working a program, or they earned their way to a good job or whatever it might be. You can't disrespect them in the sense and say, well, they're here because they're this. Well, I made my way to one of those yards. I just wasn't allowed to go outside the fences, but I made my way to one of those yards. And trust me, if you want to like chest bump each other and like people do in my comments and want to act tough, like you've been Billy Badass on a prison yard and I haven't, or whatever that might be, you can look at my disciplinary record and understand why I stayed on max yards as much as I did. I got caught prison promoting contraband. I was bringing in cell phones. I was bringing in stuff through visitation that was worth thousands of dollars. And, it was like I hustled. I earned where I was at. And it makes me sick to my stomach when we just point and say, well, they had to have done this to be on that yard. You don't know what the reason why they're on that yard is. They earned it, or they're programming. They're working harder than somebody else. It doesn't mean that they did something out of whack that got other people arrested or anything of that nature. So I don't know if that makes sense.
It actually makes perfect sense in the way it kind of segues into a couple other things I wanted to say. And first off, we can just go with Nina's example from her research. They would all be on different times in their sentencing, because like say they got sentenced to 3 years, it doesn't matter what time they enter, they all have different sentences. And they're, they might get moved around, like 3 years might equal 3 months, like you said. So their release dates are all different. The one thing I wanted to touch on, that something you said, Nina, you were talking about, it wasn't all just nice that they were letting these people out who had first-time drug offenses. You said that it's a huge cost savings for the taxpayer. And I mean, you brought up an example of like over how they could have released so many prisoners and saved over $1 million. So what I would say is what immediately the questions that I started to get when I went into Discord and I was talking about this situation, because just like AR, we were hustling last night to get all the information. We wanted to come from a place of knowledge before we spoke. And one of the concerns that kept coming up was she's getting released. Okay, is she getting released into a program? I think that's what boils down to cost. If you're going to save $58,000 by not having this person incarcerated, couldn't a percentage of that be dedicated to rehab for them not to have a repeat? That was an observation. I mean, I'll pass it over to you after saying that before I go to any other details.
But consider that $58,000 is for 1 year. So if Cara, for instance, say it was a trade-off of 8 years. So now you do $58,000 times 8 years. So just her alone, let's see, 8 times 6 is 48. So we're talking what, almost $500,000 that she saved them.
Well, and on top of that, there's states like I know Arizona has done what's called a habitual drug offender program. So these people, and it just amazed me. They would get caught again with substantial amounts of drugs in their pocket. And a lot of these people, it was certain drugs qualified, others didn't. But so they would go back to the penitentiary, serve 3 months, and immediately get kicked back out to a halfway house to live for another 3 months and then reinstated on their probation. They could never do an actual full-blown prison sentence because they were deemed to be disabled by the drug addictions that they had, that the system knew if they just continuously locked them up, they would never get out of the penitentiary. And here's a non-violent, individual that's really not harming anybody other than themselves. So the system figured it's better to put them in real quick to try to get them off the stuff, send them back out to a program and get them going back again where they can get their jobs and they can live in a halfway house or whatever they choose to do. And it was like, I would watch the revolving door of these people coming in, leaving within 3 months, and they're literally in there on charges that would carry a 12-year sentence for most people. But because they're in that diversion program, they get out quick. And I don't know if Idaho kind of carries the same structure of what they do, but judges know when you go in front of a judge, they know that you're habitual. They know that you've got issues. They've seen you before, and they're going to go a little bit lighter on your sentence, and they're going to try to put you into, some sort of rehab, something that benefits you, because prison's not going to benefit you. It's just not.
In my research, and I want everybody to know, I know I say this all the time, anything that I speak of on a panel, you can guarantee I've already sent my receipts in. I guarantee you that Swamps Rose's Discord is absolutely full right now. But one of the receipts is actually the recidivism, and it's talking about, them just coming back. And so if they can get them in a program, and thank you for pulling that up, because Angel D had a question. That's where I was going with this. I think it was Angel D had a question of, are they just going to throw her out there and forget about her, or are they going to help her? And I think that what you're fixing to pull up is, I think it's like 43 pages. I mean, y'all, this is an in-depth. This is them preparing this person for reentry, okay? And I mean, I'm sure that she don't want to go through, and read it all, but just the highlights. It tells them the food banks, the it tells them where to get a toothbrush. It tells them, they help, with the halfway house. I can't say that she's going to a halfway house because I don't know. It's none of my business really. As long as they're helping them and not just throwing them back on the streets and saying, okay, you graduated, here's your diploma, see ya. I'm good with that. But you
So
can tell.
without me giving up too much information, I guess let me put it this way: if and when Cara's released, or has been released, or will be released, she is going to a extremely strict facility. Extremely strict. Probably more strict than the prison yard she was on, for more rehab, more counseling, more structured development, still no contact with anybody that she was interacting with prior to going to the penitentiary. She cannot talk to those people, otherwise it immediately would violate her release guidelines, and then she would be put right back in to the penitentiary situation. So
Exactly. And that's the thing about it, is they're not just releasing her and saying, hey, have a good life. I mean, they still own her. And you want to talk about your freedom being taken away. And I'm sure that, AR, you can attest to this. And I have spent my time in jail. Okay. Drugs wasn't the problem. Drugs not having them was the problem. I always ended up in jail. But anyway, the thing about it is they're not just throwing her to the wolves, and it's not going to help them if they just throw them to the wolves, because they're going to come back. But think of it this way: I can do this 9 months, and I'm sure that she did it willingly, because she at this point knows that she needs the help. But even if you're begrudgingly doing it, how would you like to know that you could have done, we'll say, a year program and went on with your life, but instead you mucked it up and now you're going to the yard for 9 years? I would be beating myself up every day.
let me tell you, I saw him every day come back to the yard, because what a lot of people also don't realize, when you mess up on those program yards, you don't go directly to a minimum security yard. You go to a closed custody, not max yard, a higher
Right.
yard, and then you're going to have to work your way down, because they deem that one of the most extreme violations of disciplinary that you could possibly do. You were given a privilege to go out of the thousands of people that want to go to these programs. You're given the right to do it, and you violate that, you're screwed. Like, I watched them all day long come on to the higher yards.
I mean, these
I'm watching
programs are definitely last chance.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, this is your last chance to do it, or you're gone. We're done with you. This is your last chance. And I mean, I totally went off what I was going to say as far as they own her. People think, okay, she can go and work in the garden or whatever. The biggest thing about going to jail for me was I didn't own me anymore. I wasn't in control of me anymore. They owned me. They told me when to eat. So just because you may not have the big, wire fences and razor wire and all that around you, you have that around you. It's just not visible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm still to this day owned, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. And I'm not referring to my wife owns me, or a guy. I'm still on parole with the feds, even though now I've worked my way down to where I don't have to call them every day. I don't have to tell them where I'm going. I don't have to ask permission to go to Walmart. And that's where a lot of people are misconstrued too. When she gets out, she can't go anywhere without permission. Nowhere. She has to have permission to go anywhere, even if it's just up to get a soda. And somebody's going to have to take her and bring her back for the initial part of her time, because they're going to monitor to make sure that she's not trying to sneak away and use. She also has, the unfortunate thing to her that she's absconded and ran before, so they're going to be on top of that. So when I got out, I had no privileges. Even when I got out of the penitentiary, I still had no life. I remember my first job when I got out of the penitentiary. I took a job at the Amazon warehouse. They came and saw me at my job 2 times every day, and I had to call them on every break because they wanted to make sure I was at my work and I wasn't off doing something stupid. Talk about embarrassing. You're in the break room trying to enjoy your lunch, and your parole officer with a detective and whoever joins them walk directly into your lunchroom to say hi to you, flash their badge, and make sure everybody knows you're the screw up. So it's like, I can't even go to work. I can't even do what I'm supposed to do without you guys making it known what I've been through and continue to battle every day. It's not going to be any different for somebody that has a nonviolent, what everybody calls easy sentence. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But the one thing that I can say is good about it, if you do walk the line and you take it step by step and you listen and you learn and you can not only accomplish what you want to accomplish, but you can change your life just like I did. I've been able to change my life and better the direction, not only of where I'm going in life, but my thought process, my ability to maintain my anger issues. I even quit drinking when I was starting to head down the wrong path of drinking. I was able to catch it and say, nope, can't do it. So you can utilize this and better yourself in a heartbeat, or you could just go the wrong way and get locked up the rest of your life. I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. If you mess up, you're going away for a long time. Long time. Am I all by myself?
No, I wanted to ask you a question, but I feel like it's off subject. So guys, sorry if I'm throwing a weird question in here, but
oh my gosh, the news lady's got to come in and interrupt the flow.
Would you like me to grab the microphone? Because I can. No.
There you go.
I was just thinking. No, I wanted you to clear something up. When you were talking about hooch, are you talking about like people making alcohol in their jail cell?
Yes.
Like that's what I thought you meant. Can you tell me how they do that?
There's a lot of different ways that you make it, but to be honest with you, this is how bad we were on my runs. We made trash can fulls. So if you think about the big blue trash cans that you buy at Home Depot, those are the type of trash cans that they have around the yard. So we would sneak one of those into a cell. You get about 100-pound trash bag. You fill it with, you got to have yeast. So you get all the bread and everything that you've collected for the past month. Jolly Ranchers, orange peels. Let me tell you, it's crazy. And then you let it takes about a week to almost 2 weeks. You got to pour it into soda bottles and what's called burping it. You got to unscrew the cap a little bit, let the air come out, because those things can literally explode. When people talk about the power of moonshine and things of that nature, hooch is probably stronger and can eat away the lining of your stomach, your esophagus. If you drink a bottle of it, it's gonna F you up. I mean, it's bad. It's really, really bad. But it's all made with stuff that you steal from the kitchen or you gather, through different meals, and you got to save it for a long time, and then it takes a while to make. And then when the batch is made, we used to, I'm trying to think of what we'd get. We'd get about 200 soda bottles, 16-ounce soda bottles out of every batch. And one soda bottle would sell for 40, $50. So you can imagine how much money we were, my Sally and I, or whoever, we were teaming up with to make it made. Couple $1,000 pretty easily after we paid off people that helped us sneak things or steal things or whatever it took to make it. Be able to send your wife home a couple $1,000, pay a couple months worth of rent or bills, and move on to the next escapade.
I think one of those key ingredients, just in case the audience didn't catch that, when he was saying orange peels in Jolly Ranchers, has to be sugar, right? Isn't that key ingredient for me? And I think when sorry.
And the prisons are smart enough to know that, so they lock the sugar up that they use, when they make meals or when they, make the oatmeal or whatever. They'll lock all that sugar up so that people like us that want it for other things can't steal it. But we always find a way to get it. We always find a way.
When you were talking about moonshine like that, I've heard that like when they make that, like I always think like bathtub gin or something, but when they make that hooch or whatever, it can blind you. Like you can literally, like you said, it could eat away your stomach lining. I've heard you can go blind from drinking that. I don't know if that's like a urban legend, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people die from it. Like literally just keel over with alcohol poisoning or just all kinds of stuff. I mean, it is crazy, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it blinds you. Probably knocks your hair out. I mean, there's a lot to it. And it's the nastiest stuff you'll ever imagine. You can't make it taste good. It does not taste good, but nobody cares.
You can't get limes. You can't get limes. I'm just kidding, but I'm just. Rolo has a question for you. Swamp Rose, ask him what's white lightning. And like a lot of people want to know too. Oh God, what I just do?
White lightning. Oh Lord, I just don't even want to get into white lightning.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean Rolo. I mean it's great, man, because the thing is, like, I know Rolo's very well educated about what he's talking about just based off of the things he brings up, because he knows white lightning. I know white China. I mean, we could go back and forth all day with the different things that are going on in there. And that's what I'm trying to interject to you guys. Like literally anything and everything that you want, you can get. And if you can't get it, somebody else will get it for you from outside of the fences. And that's the thing. It's a walking, what's the best way to put it? It's a walking drunk and high tank all day, every day. And you definitely know when the yard runs out because everybody's angry and fighting. And then you know when the yard gets it back because everybody's laid back sleeping. So it's like you could tell where the yard's at. And I know that's how SSU and all the different security teams knew, like, is the yard flooded right now? Because everybody's in their cells sleeping. What's going on? Yep, must be flooded. Okay, nobody made it to wreck today. We know everybody's either drunk or high. It's just the way it is, So it's like, whatever. Rolo, I love Rolo.
I was trying to catch all the comments. No, but you remind me of that it reminds me of that saying that Einstein says, like, and maybe it doesn't apply. I'm sorry if I'm throwing out the wrong saying, but he was like, beer or hooch, I guess we could say, is proof that God loves us and he wants us to be happy. Just saying. The fact that we discovered beer in the first place is pretty amazing.
Right. And 12 Gauge has an actual good question. Is there any hope to actually go in and be rehabilitated while you're in? And the main key to that is it comes down to the individual themselves. Like I myself, when I went into the penitentiary, did not begin using. I didn't drink hooch. I did everything I could to stay healthy and work on my mind. Now, look, I made bad decisions, and a lot of it, my bad decisions came down to a simple fact. Especially in my last sentence, I wanted to provide so badly for my wife that was struggling out there because her husband was in the penitentiary and she was fighting to keep a roof over her head, pay the bills, that I was willing to take risks to do hustles. Do I feel as though people rehabilitate while they're in there? Yes, I've absolutely seen people improve their life night and day. And I would have to say, I myself began the process of rehabilitating in my last, I want to say 3 years of my sentence, because I realized if I kept on the pace I was going, I wasn't going to get out. I kept picking up more charges that they kept stacking on top of my original charges. So every time I thought I was getting ready to go before the parole board, I picked up a new charge that carried another year or another 2 years. And it was like, I'm never going to go home if I keep doing this. So I self-asked to go into solitary segregation, to where they put the affiliated members and the people that are heavily disciplined. I self-asked to go into a lockdown scenario, giving up many of my privileges, including phone calls for long periods of time, so that I could get my mind right and get going on the right direction. Because I knew if I stayed on the yard, it just wasn't going to happen. I was going to continue doing what I was doing. And I mean, it was everything from bringing cell phones in to, if somebody had to get handled on the yard, I was the first one to put the socks on my hands and say, okay, it's time to go handle it. Let's do it. All right, no problem. Instead of thinking about what was most important, I just fell into the trap of doing whatever was necessary to be done. So I know Rolo understands that, and I'm sure 12 Gauge has good knowledge of it as well. Nina, I'm sure you do too. Rehabilitation, yeah, it's down to the person. If you choose to do better, you can. And I can't speak for all the races because I didn't get really too in depth with what they expect or what their principles were. But within the white race, if you chose that route to better yourself, we would support you in that. But we still expected you to stand up for the race if something happened. But let's say a youngster wanted to become educated, and we supported that. We encouraged that, and that you can make that choice, but it's up to you.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was muted. Nina, I mean, you've been hearing the boys going back and forth against these experiences. When you were incarcerated in a female penitentiary, did you see the same thing? Were people creating hooch in their cells?
Oh, I do not know anything about prison, but I know about jail.
Sorry.
And that's the reason AR did a video one time talking about that when you come into the jail and you're new, that they send out like the meanest person to come after you to see how you're going to react and stuff like that. You had a word for it, AR. I don't remember what it was.
Heart check.
That's it. I actually went through that. And of course, with me having the lifestyle that I have and having a partner, then, they want to send out Big Bertha after me, and so I'm standing there, they're playing cards, and I'm standing at the table, and she comes up and she grabs me like where she's not supposed to grab me. And so me immediately I just slam her head down on the table and tell her, you will never touch me again. And just kept my hand on her head. And they're like, okay, never mind. And she just got up and walked off. But until AR made that video, I had no idea what it was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that they were like checking to see what kind of person I was, or you know what I'm saying? So when I heard that, I was like, dang it. I guess I passed.
Kind of a funny story too. My heart check for the very first time in adult jail. A lot of people want to talk about the successful measure of being able to stand up to somebody, and they were able to box them and fight. And I was kind of a smaller guy, 5'7", probably 160 pounds, and they didn't even send out a big guy to greet me. It was a little military guy that I didn't know, obviously, was out of the military. So at least it was like an even one-on-one type situation, and me just being like, well, whatever, let's just get going with this. Let's get this over. I know what this is. Let's go. And I went to throw a punch, and I slipped, and I hit my head on the toilet of the bathroom and knocked my own self out. So literally, no joke about it. My heart check in a New Mexico jail, which was the first time there, I got my butt whooped by a toilet.
Wow. AR, I did notice that in chat, I think it was Kane. He asked because you had made the statement about the relationship, and he had asked if you were willing to elaborate on that.
Oh yeah, I have it starred. Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, good. I saw it too a while back, and I threw a star on it. But here, the question is, AR, how is Xana and hers relationship? If you are willing to share / no.
Xana and Cara's relationship?
Yes. Yeah.
There was no relationship.
And if I may,
I don't know how to better answer that. Like, Cara absolutely loves Xana, 100%. That's her daughter. She will always think about Xana. She will always talk highly of Xana. She will always be concerned about what happened, and she's the same. I'm sure, Nina, you know this about Jasmine and others. She's very loving, very enduring. But as for an everyday, any type of relationship, there was none.
well, yeah, and I do. I mean, one of the reasons I brought that up is because I want everybody to understand that actually plays harder in the grief process, because the last time I saw my son, and I am not in any kind of way talking negative about my son, but there's things that happen when you put certain chemicals in your body, and God, we only know what meth is made of, but it changed David, and he became violent. And so one night I smarted off to him, and he literally beat me, I mean, and my son was 6'1". I mean, it's the only time in my life when David hugged me, it was the only time in my life I ever felt little. I was like, come here and hug me so I don't feel like a big girl, And so I left that night. And the reason I'm so thankful for the 5 days is because I had not spoke to my son in 2 years. And so if he had died without me being able to mend that and hold him and love him, because sometimes I want everybody to understand that sometimes the regret and the guilt eats you up more than the death. So don't think that just because they weren't, everyday mother and daughter and stuff like that. I'm sure that not only the grief, Kara's dealing with some regret and guilt.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I can kind of interject like a little bit of how It's a little different situation, but many of you guys know my background. I was taken away just after birth from a very abusive biological mother, blah, 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 blah. She is still alive and living in Missouri, and I do know of her. I have not spoken to her, but I know of her because of some of the other siblings that I do interact with on a very small scale. So what's kind of ironic about that, and I think it kind of showcases a little bit of maybe what Xana and her mother Cara had. I think about my biological mother. I worry about her because I know her health is not great. I know she battles a lot in life, and she's going through a lot of things and has experienced a lot of things. And I care very much about that. But I don't have that relationship with her on any level. There's just no relationship. And that might be best for her and it might be best for me. And I believe at the end of the day, Cara knew kind of her situation, and maybe it was best to allow Xana to excel and do well in life without having to worry or endure the back and forth with Cara. And I'm sure it's the same with Jasmine. And so the caring is there and the loving is there, and I think that's showcased in the point of keeping that distance, because I believe that's what I do with my biological mother, and she might even be doing with me. Without talking to her, I don't know that for a fact, but I believe that if I became a part of my biological mother's life, it would be detrimental. And if she became a part of my life, it could spin me off into a direction that's probably detrimental as well, because I've got a lot of anger. I've got a lot of, bent out of shape emotions within me that it, when we're distant like we are, it's easier to just deal with and just understand. But I think if we close that proximity, because my other siblings who have met her because they were adopted as well have discussed, why don't we do an all together get together? And I'm like, I'm not going back to the penitentiary. That's just not going to work. Like I would,
Right.
I can't do it. It just wouldn't work. And I think there's some of that in the dynamic in the Xana and the Jasmine and Cara situation, that they knew what was best for each other, and I think they took that route. And Viviana was right. I saw real quick. I mean, I finally learned how to on my phone show some of the comments, and she's absolutely right. It was about the age of 5 where they went their separate ways of Xana at the age of 5, and they kept that distance. So and mine was literally very early in life, like less than a year old, and then I spent 8 years in the foster care system. So a different scenario altogether, but I understand the dynamic of the possible need to keep the distance.
Well, the thing about it too is if everybody's heard me talk about how Maddie and Xana had already broken that generational curse. They were already succeeding. Because if you can break that generational curse, you've already succeeded. Okay, you're already a success. And the thing about it is, you heard me say that I call my daughter Lucy. We don't do mama and daughter or anything like that. We do, I'm Mavis and she's Lucy, and we haven't had a crossword in 3 years. And, some people think that's crazy, but we built a friendship. And, she's Lucy. I'm Mavis, and we don't do the whole mama daughter, because the way we looked at it was, once I got clean, I would have been guilt parenting, and she would have been guilt childing or whatever, But what was best for our relationship is just Lucy and Mavis and build a friendship, you know. And it's the closest that I've ever been to my daughter. And so if Cara saw that, Xana's breaking that generational curse and she's, excelling and everything, then she probably chose to step away. And that's only in my opinion. But I didn't want anybody to think that just because they didn't have that bond or whatever, that the pain and the guilt and the regret's not still there.
And I would think that it's hard for me to talk about my biological situation because of the fact that, one, I feel it's unfair for me to speak for my biological mother, but knowing the situation where she to this day still has no idea even who my dad is, because she was having a relationship at the age of 15 with so many different people. She doesn't even know who my dad is, to the points that drugs were more important than her first three kids. My next in line sister, that's a year, I think we're a year different. We might be two. I think we may be 2 years different. So I was born when my biological mother was 15, and then at 17 she had my next sister, who became the ashtray for her boyfriend putting cigarettes out on my sister. So she got taken away by the state. And then the third is Brian, who was the third in line brother, and he got abused sexually, which I guess the first two of us luckily were not, but he got abused sexually by his dad. So there's six of us biological children, six different fathers. Three of us have no idea who the fathers are. Two of us have extreme health issues from drug usage by our mother. And then Brian, my oldest brother, was killed by somebody in a relationship a couple of years after I got out of the penitentiary. He reached out to me. I had never met him. He said, "I need you to come help me because of some choices he was making in life." I told him I couldn't do it and I wasn't going to do it. And then I got a call about a week later that he had been killed in a hotel room. I don't remember what state. And the police wanted to talk to me to find out more information about it. I'm like, I have no idea. But because his last few phone calls on his phone were to me, I got reeled into that one. So since then, I've been very distant from anybody in my biological family that reaches out. I only talk really to my sister right below me, and that's just because we're distant and we talk here or there. And she's unfortunately been abused like I was at a young age, so we kind of have an understanding. But she's talking to me like, you need to meet your biological mother, you need to do this, you need to overcome it. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I've chosen to have no family. I don't talk to my adopted family at all. I don't talk to anybody in family whatsoever. And just last year, for the first time on Thanksgiving, Jennifer's dad came out and spent Thanksgiving with us. That was the very first attempt at any type of family relationship. This year, the dad is coming back with his other daughter and son. So Jen's sister and brother are joining him this year. So now this is the first time ever I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with family on a bigger scale. So we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of nervous.
But so awesome.
So it takes time. It takes time, but there's also some relationships, and I understand it. Nina, I'm glad that you were able to build that relationship and you found a way to make it work. Unfortunately, some of us, we can't do that. I can't. I can't do it. So,
Well, I mean, the thing about it is I was, I think I said it on my live one night, my ranting live, is that I understand being that POS mother, and I mean, I never lost my children. DHR never got involved. I worked a job. I was one of those functioning addicts, y'all. There's no such thing. You're delusional if you think you are, But the thing about it is I was never like an absent mother. I just always, 16 years, you got to consider my son lived 11,956 days. And of that, I would say over half of it, I was doing meth every day. So, I still worked a full-time job. I provided for them and stuff like that, but it doesn't excuse the, pillar to post life that I gave them, to where I could just pick up and move or whatever I wanted, whatever gave me what I wanted. I wasn't the mother that did what my kids needed. I did what my addiction needed.
If you don't mind, I want to I just want to interject and say something. Hearing that story of you and your son, I just want, and then hearing the story of you and your daughter and how you've healed your relationship. It's just, first off, I'm sorry for what you've been through, and it puts perspective on everything. And when you tell the story of your son's passing, it just knowing the whole story, it's very moving, and somebody out there needs to hear it. And I'm glad that you shared it with us. But I want to even bring up more what you and your daughter have done, like instinctually or naturally, or maybe somebody told you to do that name change. Like, to me, it's so brilliant. Like, you're breaking the generational curse. You're changing your names because you're changing that codependency. And
exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted your response to that, but that's what it sounds like to me, is like breaking that generational curse by changing you changing those names, just saying it in that moment. You take away the codependency, feeding my anger or feeding whatever it was that fed your addiction, or, you know what I'm saying? I'd love to hear your response to that.
Well, the thing about it is, Lucy, Lucy used to call me her incubator. That's how you've heard me refer to my mother as my incubator. I got that from my daughter, and that's so sad to say, and I never knew that she called me that. But okay, David died in October, and on Christmas Day, 2 months later, her dad died of a massive heart attack on Christmas Day. So within 2 months, Tamla Lucy lost her brother and her father. And so she had always leaned more towards her father because he wasn't an addict. And I think he sort of kind of took advantage of, he can be the good parent. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, he, at that time, he probably was, getting rid of the victim card. Yes, he was. But then we actually, after she lost her dad, my baby was floundering. She was in full-blown addiction. She was couch surfing. She was hungry. And she called me one day, and Marty and me were on a truck. I'll never forget it. She called me and she said, "Mama, I want to come home. I want a home." And I got off the phone, and the next day we got a house. And I came off the truck with Marty, and I've been with Lucy for the last 3 years. and we, went through, getting her clean. And, David and Tamla, they were rig users. I never did that. That does not make me any better than anybody else. Just because I didn't progress to the rig doesn't make me any better. But that's one of the hardest to come off of. And I did my DOC every day for 16 years. I didn't miss a day for 16 years. And so I guess sometimes when I talk about, like, maybe the drug angle, or, and I'm not saying the drug angle can't be whatever, but sometimes, it's because I've played that game. I was a player in that game, and I understand how the game is played. I understand the levels of the game. And, I explained the other night on my live, you have levels of addicts. You have a drug fiend, you have a meth head, a drug fiend, there's different levels, and the people that are supplying them, they learn what level they are dealing with, and that's how they learn how to treat that person. Because if they're dealing with a drug fiend, they can step on it, they can cut it, they can do whatever they want to, because they're fiending and they're going to get it. They don't care if they're getting rock salt, but then you take someone that is a functioning addict like me, then, they have to be a little more careful. And, the thing about it is, I'm just going to say this, and I'm not talking about any one certain person, but in my opinion, I will say that according to what level you are as far as an addict, that supplier is going to know how much trust they can put in you with information. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, next.
Well, and I'm sorry, Swamp, I didn't mean to cut you off. I absolutely agree with you, Nina, and I can even kind of put it in perspective with a little bit of the knowledge that I can share to this. Because, look, I didn't, on the streets, I didn't have anything to do with drug interaction, drug use, drug sales, nothing. But when I got into the penitentiary, things changed. Not that I used, but because it became a hustle for me. And that hustle is important because it was a financial, thing, which a lot of people that have never been there don't understand. Finances in the penitentiary are extremely important. And if you mess up the finances in the penitentiary, your life is either heavily endangered or lost. So I took it very seriously. And to kind of interject on your point, Nina, we knew what levels we could supply somebody said products and how much we could stretch them based upon, what's their usage level, what's their financial capability. And the trust factor on a low scale are people that, knew nothing about how it was coming in the door. They didn't know when it was going to be there. All that mattered is you got a little bit when we decided to give you a little bit, and that was that. But there were people that were more entrusted, that were more a part of the game, because they were the users. They were deep in. And we knew how much money every month we would get from them. And normally we'd even get it in advance. We could trust them a little bit more. So they knew a little bit more about what was happening. So I get what your point is, because we have to be very careful who we say knows how much and what they could share with certain people to give up certain information in certain situations. Because, look, when you're a part of a hustle that involves not only the financial situation of it, but also the risk of the people above you, you're pretty careful about what you allow people to know, even if they are getting something from you to flip or turn to somebody else. The knowledge that they have isn't enough to give up anything high enough on that next ring that's going to make a difference. So I know what you're saying, and I hope others do too. I don't want to get too in depth into it, but even on the yard where I was, I knew where my money was coming from, and I knew what was above me and what was at risk. So I knew who can I trust and who can I not with what information. And if somebody asked me, when's your next shipment, there's some people I could tell it's going to be on Tuesday. And then there's other people I would just say it'll be here when it gets here, So, I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. AR is, you learned your clientele, and you learned who you could take advantage of, who you could screw over, who you could get by with, but at the same time, you learned who you could trust.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about it, is literally on the yard, we knew who was going to be the next PC case and who was going to be in the SSU office giving up information of who they got what from. Like, we could pinpoint it in a heartbeat. The streets is probably a little bit more difficult because it's not quite as confined of a situation. But I'm telling you, the people that do this for extreme financial capabilities and for a living, their life is on the line. They know what to look for and what not to look for, and they don't give up much information, much less information that goes much higher than them. So I don't know. I'm with you. I know where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that don't get any higher than what we used to call the plug.
Yeah. Yep.
The plug.
Yeah, the plug. The plug would be that person.
Terms written down I need to know, but we'll start.
The plug would be that person that, say, your supplier calls them to supply them, so they would be the plug. Because they can plug you in to a contact or get you what you need.
Okay, well, we're on the same subject. What's a POS mother? I didn't understand that term.
Piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, piece of shit.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be an idiot, but I didn't know. And then when
that does not offend. I mean, it offends me that I was that, but it does not offend me for the questions or anything like that. If I'm not going to be transparent, I shouldn't be on a panel.
Well, I mean, I wanted to. I mean, I was going to skip over these because I have so many starred questions I want to get to with you guys. But I mean, I just I don't know. When I heard you talking, and I'm sorry I brought that statement up, but that brings up something I wanted to say, which is you talk about this experience with your daughter, and it's so obvious that you're talking about your daughter growing up and looking at her mother as a person and not just her mom. And it's beautiful to hear. It's beautiful to hear your relationship. And on the same note, AR, when you talk about your family and what you've been through, and I know you and I have dove into this subject extensively on it, but I will say this. When you talk about your experiences, like you grow up, sometimes you choose your family, and although you don't see your family, you chose one, and it's and you have a beautiful family. And I mean, and then again with the terminology, Nina, I just one other question. When you say rig user, are you talking about intravenous drug use? Is that what that means? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, I'm going to say this, and people are going to say, I can't believe she said she's blessed. I never thought that I would see the day that I would say I'm blessed from David's death. And it took me a long time to say that, but I'm blessed to be my son's voice, and I am blessed to give my son's death purpose. And the thing about it is, if you really think about it, with us doing Dabo's Kennels, and for anybody that doesn't know that, we put kennels at rehab facilities and sober living, because sometimes with an addict, their dog is their life. Their dog is their world, okay? Their cat, their dog, whatever. And some people may not understand that because as an addict, we do not have that everyday life of normal friends and family and blah, blah, blah. Then sometimes we get more attached to the person. I call it a person because of my dogs, they're my babies. But we get attached to our dog as that constant in our life that is loyal and has that unconditional love, you know, because that may be something that we're missing in our life. And I have worked with addicts that will literally turn down rehab because they will not leave their dog. So in honor of David, we do Dabo's Kennels, and we put kennels at rehab. That way an addict doesn't have to choose between rehab or their dog.
That's amazing.
So to me, David's death is probably reaching more people than his life ever would.
Well, I just want to say, like, it's a proven fact. If you're old enough to remember Hurricane Katrina, when the people, just on a similar thought process, when the people they knew the levee broke, they knew that their city was going underwater, and people wouldn't leave because they'd get to the evacuation buses and they wouldn't allow their pets in. And people literally lost their lives because they weren't abandoning their dog to get drowned. And so what you're doing is saving lives.
If Moody could go, I would die with him.
And I also thought of something else I wanted to share with the audience. When I donate to a charity called the Gentle Barn, and it's a beautiful organization that helps. They rescue animals that are in horrible situations, but they don't just rescue cats and dogs, because there's a lot of charities that do that. They rescue like these large breed animals like horses and cows or chickens, any type of large breed farm animal or anything like that. And one of the ways they keep sustaining it is by having different programs. And one of the programs they have is they have inner city youth come out to the farm and just experience the open air, experience the animals. And I'll never, this story is burned into my head. There was a young man who, he had been in the gangs his whole life since he was like, before he was double digits. He had tattoos all over his face, down his neck, his arms and everything. And he said his job was to go like brush the horse or something like that. And he went up to this horse and he didn't even get to it. And the horse came to him and nudged him on his arm. And he said he started crying. He's like, there's not a human alive that looks at me and isn't scared. And this horse just saw me for who I was and came up and nudged me. It's making me like sad thinking about it. It's beautiful. And so I just wanted to share that, because the power of these connections that we have, that could be the lifeline for one of these addicts. And you are saving lives by this program. Hands down, I believe it.
I mean, if I didn't have Bayou, I'm not sure if many of you guys know my dogs, but my Blue Nose, the very, very blue one, when I came home from the penitentiary and was able to finally move into our house with Jennifer, obviously I was so used to cell living and everything, I didn't really know how to, adapt to the home life. And Jen was working extreme amount of hours. She managed a big retail store, and was just invested very deeply into work. And obviously we needed that financial backing to be able to pay our bills. So I was so shaken that here I am in the free world, in a house, all by myself, and it's like, what do? I don't even know what to do. And Bayou is a rescue out in the desert of Arizona. Him and his entire litter were left in the desert at the age of 4 weeks, just heat and everything. So Jen, of course, before I came home, went and rescued the whole litter, and great story. But so I come home, and Bayou's probably 8 weeks old. No, he's a little older than that. He's probably 3 or 4 months. And just hops in my lap one day while Jen's at work, and we're sitting on the couch together, and we've been bonded ever since. He literally hand walked me through some of the most depressing of days that I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And Bayou was always there. So I would take him on walks. Like if I walked to 7-Eleven or whatever to get a drink, Bayou got to go to 7-Eleven. And so a lot of people wonder now, because as many of you guys know, we live in Vegas and we're frequently on the Strip. And just so everybody knows, I finally made the decision to sign a lease. So we now have a permanent residence instead of doing what we were doing that everybody likes to make fun of me for. We now have a residence that we've signed a lease on. So we have a home. And everybody's like, you take your dog to the Strip? And of course, he goes everywhere with me. He goes to dinner with me. He does everything. He's become my absolute sidekick, and I won't go anywhere without him. So I get the awesome stories that people have of their pets, because my entire life was spent with people that were untrustworthy and shitty, and now I've got a dog that literally walks with me everywhere I go and is amazing. So,
And
sorry.
that's the thing about it, is we can never love them as much as they love us.
Yep,
I mean,
I
if you
agree.
think about it, we're not capable of unconditional love.
I agree.
I agree. And AR, back to people saying walking your dog on a strip. A city dog is a real thing. I had a Chihuahua for 19 years, and this was a city dog. Like there's no, dogs do adapt to the city very well. Even big, large breed dogs. Like
Bayou runs the Strip. I'm telling you, Bayou runs the Strip. If he wants to go gambling, Bayou goes gambling. If he wants to go to Starbucks, he goes to Starbucks. I mean, Bayou is well known on the Vegas Strip, and well, Xander is too. Actually, the little silver brown one, the baby, he is too. But Bayou just loves it. Like, he doesn't have to be on a leash. He doesn't have to have restraints. He just walks right next to me. He goes wherever I want him to go, he goes. And very loving, very caring. Almost, to the point, that's what I want to be in life. I just wish I was able to do it.
I don't know if you guys mind, but I have quite a few starred comments. Do you mind if I get through some of them? Ask you folks a few questions.
Get on it.
All right, let's do this. So we're going to start with a comment that Tonka said, and this is like from an hour ago. But he said, the majority of the contraband within the prison system provided by DOC officers. Is that in your experience what you experienced?
It's 50-50. They bring in about 50%. And yeah, I mean, they bring it in, you pay them well. They'll bring it in again, you pay them well. If they get caught bringing it in, you take care of their family. It's just like Jesse James Bailey up in Idaho getting nailed. He, prison guard, worked with his wife. I mean, they ran many of the operations coming from the street into the DOC. And I want to say it's a 50-50. Depending on how much cut you want to give up as an inmate, like if you have the financial means to pay well, yeah, you could. I've had it much higher than just a normal corrections officer. I've gone way higher up the pecking order to somebody that was willing to handle what I needed handled.
Well, there we go. we can tell right there that one of the broken things in our system, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what the solution is, but at least we can be a witness to it here on this panel. I'm going to bring up one by Jeff next. Jeff H. He says, AR, are there any opportunities offered to you to go into jails and be kind of a motivational speaker, kind of giving back to the jail system? I think this is a great question for you because you have some things to share about it.
I just started. I just took an opportunity with Clark County here in Las Vegas to where I'm speaking at the juvenile detention center jail system, and I go in and I meet with a group of about 8 kids between the ages of 13 to 17 years old, and speak with them. I go through different things to try to help them understand better what they're facing within their charges, but also how to make better decisions to avoid certain things within the penitentiary. Because unfortunately, I started very, very early in life into disciplinary, of being locked up. So most kids don't go to the penitentiary at the age of 11. I did. So I think I could give back, and I want to give back. But let me tell you, within a lot of the systems, they don't want to trust somebody like me because they don't know if I'm going to be that one that's ultimately more understanding of the inmate role and furnishing them, just like we were talking about. Am I going to bring stuff in for them? Am I going to help them learn to be a better criminal? So it's about building the trust. And I think my first step is to showcase what I'm able to do here with the Clark County Juvenile Detention Center. And then maybe try to spread my wings a little bit more. They won't ever let me work within the DOC programs because of my background, and they know the statuses that I was and what I've been through, and they're never going to allow that. But if I can make a difference in one person a year's life that could potentially make a devastating decision that affects many other people, that makes it so worth it as it is. So that's a great question, Jeff. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that people are finally starting to see me as someone that could make a difference, because for a long time, I was so focused in on the people that thought that, once a convict, always a convict, once a liar, always a liar, once this, always that. And there are some of us that do want to make change, and then not only change, but make a difference so others can do the same. And that's why I think my direction is far greater than true crime on YouTube. It's nice to talk true crime, but that's why I've had behind the scenes conversations with people like you, Swamp, and people like you, Nina. I want to make the connections of people that can join me in making an actual difference, getting other stories out there and the improvements and the things that they've been able to overcome, because my situation is just one. There's so many more that can be told and brought to light that are so amazing that I just hope to springboard people's belief that they can come out, they can showcase transparency, they can talk about it, and we can overcome the judgment that people want to give us because of it, and we can do better. So.
Thank you for answering that question. And Nina, I just want to kind of put the same question to you. Have you considered motivational speaking within some of the institutions that you had experiences in?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely do that. That actually is my platform originally is TikTok, and for anybody that does not know, TikTok has a fantastic addiction recovery community, and my platform there, it's established. I mean, on before I left TikTok, and I'll explain that in a minute. But before I left TikTok in January, For 3 years, every Sunday, I did a show called Those Left Behind. And it was anybody, not just parents, not just, and I want everybody to understand when I say those left behind, I don't mean those left behind just in death, okay? There are parents out there, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I have finality with my son's never going to walk through my door again. I have finality of knowing where my son is, okay? Those parents during the dead of winter that are sitting there waiting on that dreaded phone call, wondering, is my baby eating? Is my baby cold? Those are left behind. Their children are living as far as they know. They may have just not got that phone call. So do not ever think that when I talk about those left behind, that it is only in death. Because to me, those parents' grief deserves the validation and is probably harder than the grief I have. So, I mean, I had a lady that, on TikTok, I went live every night, 7 nights a week from 11 a.m. till 5 a.m. 7 nights a week. And the reason why is because for an addict that's trying to get clean, that is their most vulnerable moment, because us as addicts, we're going to be out when people are not usually out, because of course we've got to be opposite of everybody else, but when they're trying to get clean and they're sitting there alone, that's when they're going to go use, because we're so used to the chaos that the quietness is deafening. Okay. So sometimes when we're trying to get clean and our world gets quiet and we don't have that chaos around us, it will actually drive us to relapse because it's out of our norm, And so because of that, we went live every night, and it was called No Sleep Crew. And, it's just, unfortunately, I left TikTok because telling David's story, and I also tell my story. I am not scared of my story at all, because it made me the person I am. And the thing about it is, if I don't give my son's death purpose, then he's laying in a cold, hard ground for no reason. And it's my responsibility to give a reason that he died, and not a reason, but a purpose to it, And I'm a firm believer, you take that pain, you turn that pain into purpose. And then when you find your purpose, you turn that purpose into your passion. So it's pain, purpose, passion, And in January, with my algorithm on TikTok, every overdose that happened, I got it. And I used to tell people my algorithm was the Grim Reaper, because y'all need to realize we lose a beautiful soul every 11 minutes. 11 minutes, y'all. Set a timer one time on your live. I will challenge any creator right now. Go live. Set a timer in the background to go off every 11 minutes. And think about when that alarm goes off, that is a soul that has gone from drugs. So, sorry, I got on my soapbox, but I mean, it is, it's not an epidemic. It's a damn pandemic. I don't think we lost 11 people I don't think we lost a person every 11 minutes during COVID. We may have at some point, but not for, I'd say the 11 minutes has been every 3 years, for the last 3 years. And I read the other day, and I haven't confirmed it, but it came from the American Medical Association that it is now every 5. I can't even imagine losing somebody every 5 minutes. And my biggest thing right now, and I'm sorry, I'm just like rambling, but Narcan. You know, our thing right now is trying to make people understand that if your loved one overdoses, that overdose lasts longer than the Narcan. Okay. So we're trying to get it to where if you call 911 and they come out and there is a person there, not just the person overdosed, but if there is a person there, we want them to have to sign a waiver saying that they were explained to them that this person needed to go to the hospital because there is a chance that they can come back and overdose after the Narcan. Because what happens is you get Narcan, and I'm going to tell you, when you Narcan an addict and you take that buzz away, they wake up mad, okay? And they don't want to go to a hospital. They just want to go back and get their buzz. And this is just cold hard facts, okay? And so what happens is they don't go to the hospital, and just like Caden Young, everybody thinks that he left the hospital to go party. No, a friend of his picked him up, and I am not in any kind of way excusing the people that, whatever, y'all know who I'm talking about. But because he left the hospital, everybody wants to assume that he just went and got high again. No, a friend of his picked him up and carried him, and he went to bed. But what happened was the overdose lasted longer than the Narcan. So when he went to sleep, he quit breathing because it wasn't explained. No, you've got to have care. You've got to be watched. Don't let them go to sleep. They're going to stop breathing. You know, we've got to explain this to people. And I'm so sorry, and I will be quiet now.
No, I never would have thought. No, I just had no idea. No, I just had no idea that that was in effect, that then when the Narcan wears off, they still might be in a state of OD, like their central, I don't know, the respiratory system might shut down. I don't know. I didn't realize that. I thought once the Narcan came, it kind of purged your system of the drug, but that's not what you're saying. It just counteracts the effects. And when that wears off, they're still ODing. But that leads you to the fact that, so if there's someone with them, are they supposed to be released into that person's custody? Is that what that waiver is?
No, they are supposed to sign a waiver. What we're fighting for is that the emergency responders will be required to have another person sign a waiver saying that they were explained the dangers of not continuing medical care. Because instead, and I am in no way disrespecting a medical responder, I am not in no way disrespecting anyone, okay? You know, but there's got to be something that says we explain the dangers of not continuing medical attention. You know, because there's mothers and fathers out there that watch their children get Narcaned and think, oh my God, their lives are saved. And 2 hours later, they're dead. I can't even imagine watching someone save my son's life, and then losing him 2 hours later because I didn't know.
Didn't know, right. Oh, this is like a public service announcement. I've never heard anything like along these lines. Nina, I wanted to also just say something about your TikTok platform when you were talking about these mothers, these forgotten people, and it's not that their child is deceased, it's they have no idea where they are. They don't know if their baby has eaten. They don't know if their baby's warm. And what I want to say is I had a woman on here. One of my first interviews, it might have been actually my first interview on this platform, was with a woman named Erica Marsh. She has an awesome YouTube channel. She's part of the ASMR community that I come from, and she does Reiki. She had her channel name, which she's since changed, was Reiki Recovery Wellness. And one of the things she spoke on when she came on my channel, and it's a wonderful interview, I should probably link it below. I think you would enjoy it a lot. But one thing she spoke on is because she quit, she quit, she was homeless, she was in recovery, and she just quit cold turkey. And that includes cigarettes. She quit everything. And, but she talks about how addiction is a family disease. It's the entire family goes into recovery with the, so it is a family disease. And when you talk about these forgotten people on TikTok, that's part of the repercussion. And the statistics, which sound like are way higher than the last time that I looked into them, but I mean, just a year or so ago, we bypassed the amount of people we lost in the Vietnam War to fentanyl overdoses. And it's,
we're losing about 140,000 people a year.
I mean, before we would say, oh, the addiction is just 10% of the population, but when you've lost so much of your population, you know, it's not on the outskirts anymore. It's imperviated all of our communities. Like, I don't know what the solution is, but I mean, where's the outrage?
Exactly. Why are we not mad? You know, why? Because just like AR says, once a convict, always a convict. Once an addict, always an addict. We're throwaways. And I mean, I hate to say that. And I'm not doing the whole, oh, poor pitiful me, you know, but I can tell you right now, I thank God every day that used to my weight was such a problem. Now I'm glad that I'm fat, dumb, and happy. Okay. Because if I get skinny, you can guarantee I'm going to get accused of relapse. Oh, she's back on the dope. Do you see how much weight she's lost? It wouldn't matter if I was doing the best diet and going to the gym every day and doing it under doctor's orders and putting the work in. It wouldn't matter. I can guarantee you that somebody that knew I used to be a meth head, I will always be a meth head. I'm not used to be. I'll go on that one too. Recovery is the wrong word, because people that don't understand addiction, when you say you're a recovering addict, they think you've recovered. It's gone away. No. What the word should be, and I don't know why people won't listen to me, the word should be remission. If you have cancer and that cancer doesn't go away, it just goes into remission. It can come back at any time and wipe you out, okay? Just like our addiction. It never goes away. I am one bad decision from death. I am one bad decision from relapse. I'm one bad decision from mucking up everything that I've worked for. I'm one bad decision from having to go to my son's grave and apologize for doing what killed him. So, I mean, I'm so sorry, but I mean, you know, that's the thing about it, is nobody wants to discuss what makes us go to prison. Nobody wants to discuss what makes us be an addict. All they want to do is make us throwaways. All they want to do is say, oh yeah, you know, you remember Nina. No, let me explain that too. Nina is what my grandkids call me. Nina is who I am today. Nina Kelly is who the addict is. Okay. And so that's where Nina Kelly came from. And, you know, oh, Lordy mercy. I'm sorry.
You're doing
Well,
great.
Nina, and I'll add to that a little bit, Nina, because I know that, like you said, when you lose a little bit of weight, people prejudge and say, you know, all of a sudden you're back to the drugs. You know, I endure it every single day on the YouTube platform. I go into other channels and read the comments about me. I see how people feel about me, and it's okay. That's good. You know, but the one that gets me is people are, oh, he's back on the drugs. He just looked like you know, I've never done a drug in my life. Not once. Never. Not one drug in my life. Yet somehow, across the YouTube board, I'm a drug addict because of the way my eyes look. People don't understand I'm completely blind in the right eye because of a retinal detachment that I should have already had the surgery for, but because I have a cancerous issue on the brain behind that eye, I have to have a very special doctor either in LA or Phoenix do the surgery, and they can't see me till after Thanksgiving. So when I go on to do a video and everybody's like, look at the look in his eyes, look at the glazed over eyes. Do you understand that I can't see? I'm living blind right now, and I've got brain cancer. So am I a drug addict, or you know what I mean? What's the issue here?
I mean, that's the thing about it is, everybody wants, my family, not my chosen family, because that's one of my hashtags is chosen family. Because the thing about it is I finally realized that blood does not make a family. I choose my family now, and that's the thing about it is just like AR, I have no contact with my family. And the reason why is because I have been clean since April 7th, 2012. And they still look at me as an addict. And another thing is I was clean for a year before I went to my mother and my brother and said, hey, y'all, I've been an addict for 16 years. I've been a meth head for 16 years. They had no clue. That's how much they knew me. No, all they knew of me was I was erratic and made bad decisions and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what my brother said when he found out I was an addict? Thank God. That makes me understand your stupid decisions.
Yeah, and I come back with people, Nina, and the bad decisions is because we're addicted to something. I was addicted too. It wasn't narcotics, it wasn't alcohol, it wasn't drugs. I was addicted to money to the point I was willing to continuously lie and commit crimes for more of it. I'm man enough to admit that. I loved the financial means of what those green bills in the pocket meant, who I could share it with, what I could get, whatever. I mean, it's maybe because I grew up kind of broke. I don't know, but I loved money. So my addiction was crime that equaled out to more money. And I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care what came in the way. So I battle addiction every single day too, because like everybody else out there, I'm out here now trying to live a good life. I'm trying to live a life of humble living, understanding what it's like to pay rent, understanding what it's like to pay a cell phone bill, and do it without taking from others. Like, I don't have to hurt others to be able to take care of my bills. And I like that feeling. So now I'm kind of addicted to the, man, I'm doing actually pretty good here. I'm not doing anything stupid. This is nice. I get some freedom. I get to spend time with my wife. So at least now my addiction is worth it, So
Right.
I get it. Addiction is hard to overcome. And when I first, came out of the penitentiary, oh boy, there was some instances like when Jen would say, we can't go to that movie because I got to make the car payment. I got to do this. And I'm like, what? That's just money. That like money's
it's not going to pay for us to go to the movies.
Right. Well, I'm thinking to myself, money's easy to come by. I can get us some money. Just hold on a minute. I'll be right back. I'll go get us some money. And then I would have to think about it and go, oh, wait, don't do that. Like, don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like, pass on that one. I guess we'll skip the movie tonight. So it was a learning experience for me, just like an addict. You have to stop yourself before you get to the point of relapsing or using. And that's why it's always a work in progress. No matter how recovered you think you are, you're not. Like, all of us could slip back into our mistakes. It's just one decision away. So we just have to stay conscious and work together and support each other, love each other, be thankful of each other, and be thankful for what we have, because that's what keeps us on the right line of not going back to what takes away the very important things that we can have. So,
And I
big
think
shout
that
out to you. For
I
you to
think
be able
that's
to stay on your direction is good. It's good.
well, I'll be honest with you. My DOC took my son. You know, I think in a way that sort of gives me the upper hand because I hate it more than I could ever want it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I mean, and but the thing about it is it doesn't matter how much we change. We're always judged. And y'all, come on, we're not stupid. AR's not stupid. He knew how to play the game. I'm not stupid. I knew how to play the game. We're not stupid or we wouldn't be able to manipulate, and one of the things I always say, and I'm sure AR will understand this, I can justify and I can rationalize a peanut butter and jelly sandwich not having jelly on it. And I can justify and rationalize that. And you will eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it's only a peanut butter sandwich.
Hmm.
Because we
Yep.
can justify and rationalize anything.
I'm just not gonna, like, every day I've got to live through what my past has brought on to what I have to live today. So this will make a lot of you guys think about the structure that I have to do within my life. And like I said, my parole level has now gone down to minimum level. Did you know Jen and I just signed a lease for an apartment? I'm not allowed to have
I'm
a
so
knife
proud of
in
y'all.
my apartment. I'm not allowed to have a knife in my apartment. I can't have a steak knife. I can't have a knife that cuts open a watermelon. I can't have a box cutter. I can't have any of that because in the rules of my parole, based upon my actions and my disciplinary within the penitentiary, they're afraid that if I had something like that, it would be deemed a weapon. So how most felons are not allowed to have firearms, and they're not allowed to vote, and they're not allowed to do those things. I'm not allowed to have a steak knife in my house. And if I get caught with one, it violates my parole, and it's a minimum of 8 years before I see a parole board to get out. 8 years.
So you're not buying that steak knife.
No, I don't have steak knives. It's not even, and that's why, like, I absolutely understand the walks of exactly what you're saying, Nina, and what many others speak about. Like, I get it. We live life to the fullest based upon what makes us the happiest. And if I got to give up the ability to have my full freedom, at least I have the freedom that matters most, and that's my wife, my dogs, my friends, the everyday ability to walk outside, breathe air. Who cares if I could have a knife or not? That's why I don't jump. Yeah, I'm not going to go jumping off a bridge when people want to make a negative comment in my YouTube comments. My reaction is, do you think that just made a difference in my day? Do you think that just changed any direction that I was heading today based upon the negativity that you just felt the need to share with me? That means nothing. It means nothing because I have so much more that means something that I don't even need to delete your comment. I don't even need to delete it because it didn't. Sure, it can sometimes sting. But guess what? It didn't change anything at the end of the day because I've learned to just go forward with it. And I think, your warning label title, is perfect. And sometimes I wish I could borrow it because I'm just straight up with things I have to say because I don't know any other way to be. So when someone asks my opinion, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to baby you. I'm not going to say, well, let's do this the nicest way possible. I'm going to tell you exactly. You ask my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. Here it comes. If you don't like it, it's just an opinion. You take it for what it's worth to you. This is my opinion. That's it.
I can attest to that.
What's that?
No, I said, I can attest to that, AR.
Well, I'm just straight up, but I'm also one, and I think you know this, Nina. I think you know this, Swamp. I will support you to the fullest, even if my opinion is a little strong on something that you've asked me about. I will never turn my back on you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? This is how I feel. This is what it is. Okay, let's get past this now, and let's move forward, and let's work through whatever we got to work through. You know, I gave it to you. Now let's go. I'm not going to turn my back on you.
I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about the division, is because sometimes we forget that the case that we are discussing and dividing us is what brought us together to begin with.
Hallelujah.
You know, and that's the thing about it, is I'm so passionate about that, and I'm so appreciative, number one, for AR and Swamp's community, is because, you know, and as I said, you know, I don't go out there and state my opinion or stand firm on my opinion or put it out there or whatever, you know. But the thing about it is, people that's close to me, they know what I think, but they allow me on their panels. They still accept me. And that's the thing about it, is it doesn't matter what any of us believe. We need to remember that what brought us together to begin with, and what brought us together, we're allowing to divide us.
Absolutely.
I agree.
AR,
You know, there's times. I'm sorry, Swamp. Go ahead.
Fine. I just, like, this question has been asked 4 times. I've started. I'm so, like, everybody wants to know, can you have scissors?
Have you seen his
right now?
Obviously not.
No, I can't have anything that would be considered a sharp, blunt object that could be utilized like a knife.
Even take
Can't have scissors.
It doesn't make any sense. Why are they, you know?
Do you guys see how I always looked unshaven? I'm not allowed to have a rate. I can't have a big razor, because in the penitentiary I could take apart the big razors to make shanks. So I'm not allowed to have that as of yet. Now, hopefully, you know, sometime down the road here soon. Okay, so like the penitentiary, you have a classification that they house you under. When you come out on parole, they have a classification of your risk factor, both institutional risk factor and out in the community risk factor, and they weigh those out to determine where you fall in a category of classification. Are you a minimum? Are you a medium? Are you a max? Are you a high max? Are you a just extreme max? Where do you fall into these classifications risk factor wise? For me, my risk factor situation, and I hate to admit this, and especially, I mean, to be transparent, I got to be able to do it in front of everybody. My risk factor, so they go, a 1-1 is minimum, a 2-2 is a high minimum, then 3 goes into medium, 4 goes into close custody, 5 is deemed the highest max security you can go. I am a 5-5 risk factor when it comes to like situational decision making with others, meaning fighting and things of that nature. And that's all based off of what happened in the penitentiary. It takes a long time to drop from that. So I'm working on my way. Many of my risk factors now have fallen to a 3-3 or a 2-2. So minimum to a medium level, but that risk factor that is based upon my institutional risk factors that transfer out here is still a max. So, I mean, unfortunately, I've got to live with that, and I can't have sewing needles. I can't have scissors. So they
Wow.
deem it that if Jen needs to utilize something like that, I have to leave the apartment, go sit in the car. She can do what
Wow.
she needs to do, and then it has to be security locked. Okay, so we have like an outside locker, not locker, but storage area that the parole office came and put a lock on, that security lock that Jen has to take a picture of when opening and a picture of when closing, and I can't be on the proximity when she does that.
Wow. Boy, I'm glad I never made it to the penitentiary. I wouldn't be able to have glassware
Yeah,
because of
I
my.
mean we have to have plastic cups. We can't have glass cups. So when you
Wow.
go into Walmart and they got the plates that are the 50-cent black and gray plates, and then the plastic cups for 50 cents, um, that's what we buy. We have normal forks, which I don't understand why I'm allowed to have a normal fork. I would think that that could be kind of like a weapon, if I
Right.
really want to utilize it that way. I mean, I could go outside and grind down a spoon if I wanted to.
They don't know your
Uh,
expertise as far as a fork, do they, AR?
yeah, well, their list of things is so crazy. Like, I can have a coffee pot that's glass, but I can't have a glass. Kind of makes an odd, like, why?
Wow.
Why is that? So I'm just working through what they want, because I love being out here with my wife. I love being out here with my dogs. I like being out here with all of you, and my risk factors are dropping. I am accomplishing what they're expecting me to do. I was just getting ready to go back to school
Oh,
before the
really?
health stuff. Yeah, before the health stuff kicked in, I was just about ready to go back to school. I was gonna pursue more education and try to move forward with that, which I'm still planning on doing. So there's a lot of plans in the works, and I have high hopes of a good future. I just got to work through, some of this stuff, and I'm still trying to get used to it, because, like I told you, even though I'm free, I'm never free. Like, I don't have full out freedom. So we're working on it, though. We're working on it.
See,
Nice.
that's what I chose to do. The state of Alabama actually gave me a chance to. They paid for it and everything. I'm a state certified family peer support person that helps families that don't understand addiction. It helps them deal with their children and stuff like that. Because some parents have never been addicts, so when their child gets addicted, they don't understand how to handle that child, or how to help that child or whatever. And so I have my certification from the state of Alabama to be a family peer support counselor. So, and I was so proud of that, and so, and again, I guess that's the victim card. I'm 55 years old and I'm still going to my family saying, look what I did, look what I did, trying to get that validation. And, I finally realized that I teach people how to treat me by what I accept, and I'll tell anybody that everybody has the right to eat, but bitch, I'm taking your chair from the table because you ain't eating at my table. But you got the right to eat. You're just going to eat at somebody else's table.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
morning.
No, I like the concept. I mean, you said it before, this whole, people treat you, you train people how to treat you. And I thought that was an interesting concept. I listened to you talk about that before. I'm glad you
I
brought it
learned
up.
that in the situation, and a lot of people don't like that I say that, but I have to take my responsibility in my DV situation because I allowed it to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I am not in any kind of way, I do not judge anybody else's situation. I went through 3 years of a very, very, very bad DV situation I have scars from the top of my head to my toes from it. Unfortunately for me, I went through it from 1985 to 1988, and back then, all the stuff going on with DV didn't exist. You were just a bad wife. I mean, I'm not making light of that, but I mean, that's when Farrah Fawcett made the movie Burning Bed. You know, I lived in the burning bed days.
Well, it truly talks about the cycle of violence, because you talk about your son, and then you talk about the environment that he had to witness growing up. And it talks about,
yeah,
like what actually caused the addiction in the first place. I'm just reiterating some of your words you said earlier.
right, exactly. My first husband is David's biological father, and my second husband adopted David when he was 4 years old. That's Tamla's father. The thing that I'm thankful for is Bobby loved David as if he was his biological father. And I will tell anybody, 2 months later on Christmas Day, Bobby dropped dead of a heart attack. He dropped dead of grieving his son because he couldn't handle it. He couldn't deal with David not being there. And I'm sure that, it played a physical effect on his heart, And the thing about it is you do not have to be that blood father, because David's blood father didn't even show up at David's funeral. So, but then he had enough nerve 2 months later to contact me and ask me if he could go to his grave. Fortunately, I'm a nice person, and I told him I didn't care, that it was a public place, but I divorced my abuser, and I'm not going to call him my abuser, because in all reality, there was times that I would push him to the point of doing it. Why? Because after he did it, I got what I needed, because he was apologetic and he loved me and he was making up. And so, I got the love that I was needing from him, from pushing him to, and I'm not saying I did that all the time, but I have to take my responsibility and my accountability in it. Okay, I should have said that, because some people don't like that. So I'm muting now.
You know, it's funny, Nina, like I was just thinking about it. Swamp Rose brought on two of the biggest talkers. She's never going to get a word in.
I have to say, this was so important to me when we were talking about it last night. And I told, just so the audience knows too, I basically, when I was talking to Nina and AR, I was like, I'm going to fall back. I'm giving you my platform tonight. Tell what you need to tell, and let's get a message out there. Let's get ahead of maybe some of the things that are going to be said about the situation. So I wanted this to happen, and I want you guys to share your story. Every time we come on here, it touches so many people. You can see it in the live chat, but you're going to see it in the comment section that comes afterwards. And AR, the things you say about negative comments, I mean, you don't get them on my channel. It's just, well, we always have the, 1 or 2 percenters, but people love you.
Let me tell you about some negative comments. AR, you know where I'm fixing to go. I did a collab with Filtered Lucky, okay? And I'm sitting there watching that, after we did it and everything. And there's like 950 comments. Y'all, let me tell y'all, there's 850 comments that absolutely hated me. I mean, I'm calling Lucky and saying, delete that damn video. You're going to ruin yourself. He's like, Nina, it's a negative comment. You know what? It may be a negative comment, but they're interacting with you. Don't sweat it. It's a negative comment. That means that they cared enough, or they were interested enough to even watch it. They were interested enough to put a comment. Let it go. And I was like, wow.
I want to cut in just for 1 second, Nina, because I do want to give a shout out to Lucky. He is just an absolutely amazing person. I talk to Lucky behind the scenes, like I do a lot of, of you as well. But Lucky and I we are close. I really like Lucky. I respect him. I listen to him. He has very good guiding words. He has an amazing heart to help. And, hopefully he doesn't really mind. But behind the scenes, Lucky and I are in discussions. He has, plans that he's going to go with on a new channel and some new things happening with him. I obviously am trying to create the second channel that, I want to do a lot of interacting with people like Swamp and Nina and those that have experienced things that we can bring out and help others know they're not the only ones that have been through this, whether it be judicial system or, the actual justice system, or whether it be, addictions, whatever it might be. I want people to have a platform they can feel comfortable and safe to tell their story and have others know that we're all in this together because we all have experiences. So, but Lucky and I are in a discussion as well. And a big key to this is you, Nina. We are excited, and I'm going to announce it, and I know Lucky's going to be excited that we're going to be working with you, Nina. Lucky and I and you are going to build your channel, and we're going to support you, and we're going to be behind you 110%. We're going to do collabs with you together. We're going to get you higher up on this platform. We're going to get you more stable to where you could get an income from this platform based upon your hard work, your research, your experience, because we both support and care about you. And you are amazing. And we want you to get the confidence that you're amazing and realize how amazing you are. So, just to kind of break the news, because you don't know, but now you do, Lucky and I are behind you 110%, and we are excited and ready to begin working with you. And I'm pretty sure not long after this live, Lucky and I will be talking to you about the first live that we're all going to be doing together on your channel. So, sorry, Swamp, I didn't mean to interrupt what you have going on here, but I think people need to know that we don't care about the negative comments that people want to post towards any of them. We care about the actual creators and the people like Nina, like you, Swamp, like Robert, like Pete, like Lucky, the people out there that really stand up and care about people. We support and we back, and we're excited to work with you guys. We're excited to be a part of your team. We're no better than you. We're just excited to be with you and be a part of your team. We're people like Heather Fitzgerald, Kane B. We're excited to be a part of your team. We support all of you. And that's what needs to be more evident on this platform. People keep saying, Jay Ombre and I have issues. Jay Ombre and I are at it again. You know what? Jay Ombre is a creator on this platform. I don't have to agree with everything he says, but it's not my place to have an issue unless he wants to make one with me, and I don't think he does. So moving forward, I'm excited to work with you. Swamp, I'm excited to work with you, and I'm just a part of the team, and I'm excited to be. So,
Warning labels, speechless, and I'm crying.
well, you don't need to cry because we love you to death. We're excited, and I know Swamp, you back Nina too. Look, we're all right here on panel together. Here's a team. And that's what's exciting about this. This is what's good about what we can do. This is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. And we can bring each other to, we can introduce you to our audiences and have our audience introduce your audience, because truly when you work on YouTube, it's YouTube owns the audience and you earn your way to more people. But this is one way that we can organically create some inertia on your channel. The other thing I will say about comments, particularly when they come to true crime, and particularly when they come to theories, is I've found, since I've been doing true crime, a lot of the comments that I perceived as negative, if I take a step back, they're responding to the argument. They're not responding to me. And I think that sometimes that helps put things in perspective when you see a sharp comment. Of course, that doesn't take away attacks and having, the need to have a thick skin. But I think that sometimes I put my comments in perspective like that. They're truly attacking the theory that we're talking about. And I think sometimes when people comment, they mean it that way. They don't mean it as a direct insult to the person too. So,
no, mine are direct to me. I'm stupid in most people's eyes. I talk too slow because I'm trying to act as if I'm intelligent. I see all the comments, and guys, it's okay. Keep making them, because you know what you're doing? You're putting me into the algorithm. You're building my channel's analytics. Keep commenting, keep hitting the downs, thumbs, whatever you want to do. If you think like you're taking me out of the algorithm or whatever you think you're doing to my channel, it's okay, because the only person that can take me out of the algorithm is my lack of effort and lack of work. It's not anybody hitting that down button that's going to take me out of the algorithm. So you can spit on me all you want. You can say whatever you want. I'm not quitting. I'm not going anywhere. You're not getting me off of the platform. The only thing that holds me back a little bit is my health. And I'm going to speak just real quick too to Rollo. Rollo,
is that what
you and I might not agree on where the crime happened or what happened, but I respect you. I have nothing negative to say about the work that you put in, the words that you put behind your work, the emotion, the feeling, whatever it might be. We may be a little bit different, and that's okay. I appreciate the fact you're willing to step out there and put your effort into what you have to say. Put the effort into the editing of your videos, because it's not easy to do. So I 100% respect you, Rollo, and I wish others would as well, because you have a crowd that absolutely loves and follows you for what you do, and that's what it's about. I don't have to agree with you, but I respect you. I 100% respect you, Rollo, and keep doing what you're doing, and keep just following what you want to do, because that's your right and that's your freedom to do it. Don't let anybody stop you from doing that. I'm not going to let anybody stop me. I'm not going to let Nina quit. I'm not going to let Swamp quit. I'm not going to let a lot of people on this platform quit, because we need all of us together. That's what matters. We need all of us together. Otherwise, this is for naught. This is for nothing.
Wow. I don't think I've. Okay, you just took my warning label away because I'm speechless. Thank you. Thank you. And and as far as Lucky goes, I know Lucky's watching. Lucky may not be in chat, but
he will be now.
Lucky is, yeah, I'm calling you out, Lucky.
Lucky, come say hi.
Y'all, if y'all don't know Lucky, y'all need to know Lucky. And that is the most kindest, most understanding, supportive. And he doesn't mind getting in my shit. He'll get on me and say, turn that camera on, or do this or do that. And him and AR both are like, you don't listen, Nina. And I admit that, a lot of times, like, my little rant live the other night, it was something I felt I had to do. And after I did it, I sent Lucky a message, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to be so mad at me. I dropped the F-bomb like 4 times, And so he came back and he went and he said, Nina, I watched it. It's not terrible.
It's not my favorite.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but yeah, you did drop the F-bomb, but always remember, Nina, it's your passion. It's because, it's how, And you know, even though you could hear that disappointment of, Nina, what have you done? You know, it was still that support, you know, just like with AR, you know, putting his comment in there about, you know, that we may not agree, but he loves and adores me, you know. And, but I don't know if you've noticed it, AR, but, you know, like with Lucky, it's, and I'm sure you haven't because I guess he's not, I don't want to say mentoring because I don't want to put anybody in that position, but, you know, he doesn't mind telling me, now, Nina, let's think about this before you do it, you know. And so sometimes, I mean, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I mean, with less than 300 followers or subs or friends or whoever's, you know, I can't say whoever's, that was disrespectful. I am so sorry. I appreciate y'all. But I get confused because
Oops.
on Instagram they're this, TikTok they're that, you know. But the thing about it is I'm rebranding my whole channel and I have less than 300 people. That's how much I mucked it up. I mean, and I'm not saying that as a poor pitiful me, you know, it's just I was going in so many different directions. You know, they were like, okay, are you a true crime channel? Are you somebody that fights for rights? Are you for the missing? Are you for the addicted? Are you just speak about everything? And so I had to go in and clean it out.
I mean,
Anyway,
I
I'm
get
going
it.
on.
I tried to make my second channel, and it's like when I tried to get more professional with one channel, I had no views. It was just like, wait a minute, what just happened? I went from 8,000 views a video to 50. What's going on? It's because I changed the convict's thoughts. People didn't recognize, you know, the thumbnail, this, that. So now, you know what? I'm just going to be me. What comes in my content comes. If I don't get views, I don't get views. Like Jen is, you know, helping me. Swamp, you're helping me. Nina, you're helping me. Lucky's guiding me. You know, and it's I'm overcoming some of my emotional stuff because look, I sometimes I just want to turn on the camera and go off. Like you wouldn't want to. You couldn't even censor half the things I want to say. Um, there would be so many beeps. The whole conversation would be a long beep. It wouldn't even, you know, it wouldn't work. But I try to reel it back in. I try to be as stable as I can be because a lot of people say, well, I see the patience in AR. He's always so calm. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm not. I just, you know, I work hard to try to be, but I'm not always. So I get you. I know what it's like. There are times where I just can't do a video. I can't do a live. I can't do a lot of things because I got too many things I want to say, and they're not going to be appropriate.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't get that memo. That's when we're not supposed to do a live?
Yeah, uh, that's what I'm being told too.
But I do want to give a big shout out to little Kiki here
Oh,
because, but I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, Kiki is coming out of her shell.
oh,
I mean, and I talk, you know, it's really, you know, I understand everything, you know, and I always try to be so respectful when I'm on your channel because, you know, you are the lady of true crime, you know, the lady. You know, I lost my lady card a whole long time ago, you know, and not saying I'm not a lady, but, you know, I'll drop the F bomb or say what I want to say. And, you know, Kiki, is so good to see you doing the whole makeup thing and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And, you know, I mean, connecting with your people and being real with it, you know. And I just want you to know that, hey, I'm proud of you.
I am too. I add to that, Kiki. I'm 100% impressed by the growth and everything I've seen. And I'm not saying I'm better or anything of that nature. You're the leader of this pack, and you do the most work when it comes to lives and content. I'm impressed, and I'm just, it's a privilege to be here with you. I'm excited to be here with you, and I'm thankful for it too.
I am so flattered by your words, and thank you for the encouragement. And I know you just said that, AR, but I have to bow down and tell you, you are definitely the leader of our group. And it's your voice and it's your willingness to actually come up here and take the lead tonight. Because, I mean, Nina and I had some things to present, but truly, like, you were the one who got to the heart of the story, and you're the one who brought the facts to us. And so I just want to say thank you for being a leader in our group, because you truly are. And I do appreciate the kind words you said to me, but there can only be one leader. But I don't know, you guys, we've been going now for almost 3 hours. Do you think we should wrap up this live stream? I do have more starred questions if you want to keep going. I don't know how long I have of your time to take of you. I don't think we even planned it. We just said we're going to get up here and see how it goes. And here we are 3 hours later. It's wonderful. But what are you guys feeling? You want to go for a little bit longer? We about ready to wrap this up, or what do you think?
Let's go a few more minutes here, because I see comments and stuff here or there, and Phil is right. I mean, as creators, we do have to pay attention to our community, the people that decide to join us. That's what I'm always so blessed to have, is when Jen is with me, she's fully in control of that, so I don't have to think about it or worry about it. And I'm blessed to have that. And I know how hard it is, Kiki, I really do. But obviously, we want our community to know that we care about them, and we definitely want to be a part of that. So why don't we do that? Let's spend a couple of minutes. Let's interact maybe with some of the questions that they may have. Let's get through some of that. Quit talking our stories and our thoughts, and let's pay attention to them. And then we can say our goodbyes. We could do it again another time.
I have some great starred questions for you I've been dying to get to, and these almost go back to the beginning when we first started talking about addiction. I want to bring up, and I know Jenny already left, so Jenny, I hope you do see this, but when we were talking about incarceration and people going into prison and then coming, I think it's called the recidivist rate or whatever, Jenny had this question, had this comment, withdrawal is no joke when you're locked up. When you first go into jail as an addict, they'll let you die in most places. Medical doesn't exist. How sick are you? Like, is that true? If you have no medical care when you go through a withdrawal from the streets when you go into prison?
So I'll say this: I haven't spent as much time in jail as I have in the penitentiary, because it seemed like every time I went to jail, I went to prison. So my stays in jail are less. But I've had, God, Jen and I were just talking about this the other night, 12 cellmates in jail OD and die right on the floor within their first 3 days in the cell. I've seen more people airlifted off of heroin overdoses, or not overdoses, but withdrawals. So legitimately, what they tell you when you come into the penitentiary or into the jail system, even after as a diabetic that needs insulin, we'll get to you when we get to you. If you fall out, your family can handle it at that point.
Hey, Nina, that kind of, remember, I mean, just because we cover a podcast that takes place in Idaho, that reminds me of what you were, when we were talking about those statistics. And I mean, I'm not trying to bring politics or, change this in another direction.
No. I mean, I'm great with this, because, Idaho is not the worst. I think I told you the other night with my research, the state of Ohio since 2020 has had 220 deaths. Okay. And probably 40% of that is from withdrawals, because they put them in there and they don't think about withdrawals. And what everybody needs to realize is it's not, drug withdrawals are terrible, okay? But what everybody needs to realize is alcohol withdrawals can kill you. You can
Absolutely.
die literally from just stopping alcohol. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
That's the thing,
professional,
you nailed it, and so did Phil Biggs. Now that I think about it, it was always the drunk tank where the DUIs came in, that through the night you would watch people being attended to that were dying. Absolutely
exactly.
true.
Nash, Kevin Nash, professional wrestler. He and his son decided that they were going to quit drinking together. Okay. Unfortunately, they chose to quit drinking at home. Okay. And his son went into cardiac arrest that night and died from alcohol withdrawal. And I will tell anybody, unfortunately, I mean, I can't say unfortunately, because being transparent or whatever, but it was so known with me that my kids even knew that if I was on day 2 of withdrawal, the devil wouldn't come to my house on day 2. Okay. I mean, everybody knew Mama's on day 2, Kelly's on day 2. Stay away from Kelly on day 2. I can get through day 1, I can get through day 3, whatever. But day 2, that's a beast. That's when I end up in jail, you know. And it's not anything to be proud of or anything like that. But what's happening is when you're in withdrawal and everything, like from the drugs, there's one guy that died from starvation because he was in withdrawal and everything, and they were not even intending that he wasn't eating or anything. There's a guy that died from choking on a peanut butter sandwich because of his dehydration. And I want y'all to know that is a true fact, because peanut butter, and AR, I'm sure you know this from being diabetic, peanut butter is like the super thing because it doesn't raise your sugar and it doesn't lower your sugar. It balances your sugar, And so being an addict on meth that doesn't eat for days, that's how I stay skinny and fit. That's my active addiction talking there. That's what that would be. But anyway, I would be so brain dead from not eating that Tamala and Marty used to poke peanut butter down my mouth to make me eat and get my nourishment. Well, one night they kept poking and it started coming out of my mouth because I was so dehydrated. And so when I saw that a guy died from that peanut butter sandwich, of course I go back to Lucy and Marty and say, y'all could have killed me, and I'm not making light of it, but who dies from a peanut butter sandwich from being dehydrated in jail? It happens every day. And what happens is they have found a way to cut costs by bringing in privatized health care. And I will name them right now: WellPath, NEFCare. I mean, I can go on and on. And what happens is they put the privatized health care in there, and the people that are in mental distress are not getting what they need, and they're hanging themselves or self-unaliving. Sorry, I'm not on my show. But they're doing whatever, because nobody's taking care of their mental status. And then you've got the addicts in there that are going through withdrawals and doing whatever. But then you've got the addicts in there that are getting the drugs. And so they're overdosing. 220 people died in Ohio jails. Explain to me how that happens.
Well, there's more than that, though. There's what we were discussing is the statistically, we were going over statistic rates and for different reasons. But what really got to us was in
the state of Idaho, there's no oversight. How do you do that? How? Because all the 36 jails that are in the state of Idaho, they are ran by what they call the Sheriff's Association. Now, we all understand that the sheriff is over county jails. That's typical in all states, But come on, I had such an easy time researching Ohio because there's oversight. There's documentation that you can find. You can't find crap on Idaho because they don't have to report it. A woman's husband died. They did not even call her.
Yeah.
Because they're not required to.
And
Sorry.
I just, well, here's the thing is like, I understand the rights that you give up and that you're being punished and all of that. But the institution that is in charge of your custody has some responsibility to explain how you passed on. There's no way, unless they have a security, you know what I'm saying? Like to me, it doesn't make sense. I understand if you can prove self-alive, but even in the case of a self-unaliving, there are very specific bones, if it was, done a certain way, that would be broke versus not. I mean, I feel that as a citizen, that's important because it's again, why are we dehumanizing it or making a life less important? It always was that every life matters. And I just don't understand where that ever went. Like, why is it that a human, it's hard listening to also on that same note, the dehumanizing fact that somebody so desperate for food is given something they're choking on because they don't have water. Can you imagine?
I mean, AR, the thing about it is, with AR's experience and everything, I can't imagine not calling a wife. And AR, did you know that in the state of Idaho, they do not have to have an autopsy if they are in police custody or if they die in jail. They don't have to have an investigation or an autopsy done.
Yeah, I trust me. Well, I've been around the block. I've literally, I had a cellie at one point that his wife got to know my wife, and they were riding together back and forth to visitation. Well, my cellie switched out of my cell and went to another block and got killed over on that block. And his wife showed up for 8 straight weeks with my wife for visitation and never even found out that her husband was dead.
Oh, wow. Exactly.
And because I didn't know either, because he was on another block, I didn't hear until, farther down the road. And I was able to pass the information on to my wife, who told his wife. And when she contacted DOC in regards to her husband, they told her he was on lockdown and was on disciplinary action. They don't have to tell your family anything. My wife used to call to check in on me all the time when she didn't hear from me for a while. She would worry and wonder if we were on lockdown or did I get hurt or what happened, and they would never tell her anything. I mean, that's the whole thing. They don't have to tell you. I knew people that lost their lives all the time, and no family member ever found out why. I mean, it just is what it is.
I mean, I think right there, as just citizens of the United States, we can stop and talk about the privatized jail systems for a second. Why does a private institution, why do they have the right to have someone die in their custody with no investigation? Why aren't the police there investigating the death? That's what doesn't make sense, is once that life is gone, the punishment is over. Now you have to look at the crime scene. But yeah, like, I mean, the obligation of them having power over that person is over once the life is passed on. Where's the investigation? I don't know why this is even for a debate. How can we even say this to someone who writes legislation and have not them be like, oh my God, people are dying and we don't know why? Oh, we have to, why? I cannot think of any reason. If for the sheer fact that you signed, the state, the taxpayer signed documents putting this person in an institution, you, the taxpayer, have some culpability in this, because these are the institutions that your laws you're voting for are passed. So there's culpability to the citizen to stop for a second and say, wait a second, this is what we legislated and this is what our tax dollars are paying for. I have some responsibility that I'm creating a death machine. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. How can you not investigate a death? I don't understand. I can understand the limitations and rights and what's going on, but it's beyond anything once a death happens. Like, it should be investigated. And say somebody else in the prison unalive that other person. Why isn't there a full-fledged investigation so the right person gets those charges? Why is it no longer?
Because if it's or overdose, it don't have to be investigated. So you poison them or overdose them. And the thing about it, you're talking about, why is somebody not speaking out and stuff like that? I finally realized that all the politicians are on Twitter, X, whatever the hell it is, And so I went to all the politicians in Ohio, and every time they would post something, I would respond with, "Really? Can we talk about your jails? 220 deaths in 3 years. Can we talk about that?" I even did it to Vance, the one running for vice president. I'm sorry, you want to be my vice president, but you can't take care of your own jails. Can you talk to me about that? And I mean, I don't care. I'll call the devil. If I want an answer, I'll call him. All he can do is hang up on me. Sorry.
No, and I think that, whatever you think of Kim Kardashian, like, can you imagine someone with that much celebrity and goes that she really did open a lot of people's eyes to prison reform, and it's become a mainstream conversation. I don't know why I'm going there, you guys. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm.
Hey, I totally agree with you. Yeah,
just thinking Kim Kardashian.
People better be glad I only got 250 followers, because boy, if I had Kim Kardashian's following, boy, they would be shutting me up quick. Luckily, nobody sees my videos, so.
There's Priscilla Presley has left 2 comments. Excuse me, she's from the state of Ohio, and she says, "They do not care here, Ohio, even with mental issues. You see a doctor when they get to you. Trouble sleeping because you have meds on the outside. They give you like Benadryl till you get to see the doctor." It's, but then again, and then she had another comment which I thought kind of went with this. I'm gonna show you guys, where she said, "I live in Ohio. The correctional facilities in the state do not give 2 shits about you. The county jails are worse here." And so I just wanted to bring that up.
Patricia, I don't know if you're still here, but with her being from Ohio, and for anybody that wants to do the research, I'm going to give you a name. Look up Isaiah Trammell. You can look it up on YouTube. Isaiah Trammell. I challenge anybody to look it up. That is so bad that a 10-minute video, I could only play 2 minutes of it, because that's all I could stand to put on. And Isaiah Trammell. Put his name in the chat. Everybody needs to remember the name Isaiah Trammell. Sorry, that's the worst case I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I learned about that from one of your shorts. Yeah, he was a young kid. Phil says the kid. He was a young autistic man, correct?
19-year-old. 19 years old. They strapped him in a chair. They took his everything about him. He was in a total breakdown, and they're taking pictures of him. They're mocking him. They're taunting him to where he is, oh.
He's not the only one that happens to. That happens on a daily basis in jails all across the country.
See, I mean, oh my gosh, I would end up unalived, because I would have a hit on me. Oh my gosh, because I don't care. I'm gonna bring it out. I'm gonna talk about it. And you know the thing about it is what's so sad is it's not accepted behavior. I mean, you know, I I can't and oh my gosh, I ain't even gonna go there. You know, if you don't talk about certain stories, or if you don't talk about this, or you don't talk about that, and I guess I'm just bitching now because I'm on my soapbox and I'm gonna shut up. But I'm gonna say that there's cases out there that deserve more than what they get. And if I'm that person that everybody says, "Oh my God, there's morning label Nina calling somebody else out," I'll be that person. You know why? Because my son was an addict and his life mattered and he wasn't a throwaway. AR's life mattered. He's not a throwaway. I'm not a throwaway. Nobody is a throwaway. And damn sure Isaiah Trammell was not a throwaway. Sorry, I'm muting now.
There's no need to mute. I mean, don't worry about what you say. This is an open forum right now. I don't want you to filter anything. And I'm just going to add to it, and I'm going to bring a few more. I'm going to bring a few more comments and questions into this. There was something I wanted to clear up from earlier. It's about Cara, and I just feel like I know a little bit more about this, and I thought it doesn't have to do with this case, so I wanted to bring it up. It's by Paul C, and just a little triggering, but I'm going to bring it up. Not by him, just the comment in general. So it says, AR, was Cara paid to do the interview with AB and talk bad about Brian when she was on the run? Now, before I just want to say, I saw that interview, and I don't think BK had been arrested yet. So I don't know. Do you know what she's talking about?
It's the one where she's in the car wearing the bandana that looks like she's moving around because she had violated her probation and was on the move. And, you know, they were trying to get answers from her. I remember the interview pretty well. I'm pretty sure it's after Koberger was actually arrested, I believe. Maybe it's not.
I
think it
thought
is.
clarity to it.
Because
That's why I brought it up.
I know they were asking her direct questions in regards to whether it was somebody close to the house or what it was of that nature, but she was not paid for that interview. No.
Thank you for clearing that. I just thought maybe there's no need to avoid a question when I think we can actually bring some answers to it. So I'm glad you're willing to answer some of those questions. Thank you. I loved this. This isn't a question, but this is a comment from Trisha. She has echoes of clarity. So she does a lot of wonderful energy work, and it's a lot of tributes to the IDAHO4. And I just love this. She said, in my opinion, Xana sees the higher perspective and she loves her mama, because we talked about the severed relationship, and I just thought it would be nice to interject that statement into the mix. I have one from Tonka here. He says, kind of puts the idea of Cara's problems being the reason for Xana to be the target by a certain affiliation individuals on the back burner. And I agree with that.
I think many out there know that Nina, for one, has taken, the higher road of not tearing into people on a disagreement in regards to the narrative of the crime. And I believe, Nina, I'm also there with you in the regards to, I don't see that narrative as a answer to what truly happened within this crime. I can't say that it's not for 100% sure. I don't think any of us can, because we don't know. But I got to commend everybody that has kept their patience, and this is it's hard. It's very hard because it is an open, free, platform to speak how you feel. We all do it. I do it as well. Swamp. We all share, our opinions, our thoughts, and we have to respect the capability of doing that. I'm just. It hurts me when somebody says because somebody did this, it affected that, and I just know how dangerous of a conversation that truly is, especially because of my background and the knowledge that I have from the experiences and the background. I think if people took that into their thought processes, they may be able to understand why I take it the way I do. I mean, it's a very serious subject, it's a very serious conversation. And um, people right here today may be in a place where they're safer than they would be tomorrow in a different place. And we have to take that into consideration because life is not always lived in a safe bubble, because we're all moving parts and we can go from a safe position to an unsafe position. And it should never come down to, and I agree, it's what Echoes of Clarity says. My words, my pointing of my finger, my dissertation of what possibly happened should never be utilized in a manner that could change your bubble of safety today, tomorrow, or the next day. You should be able to control your own safety. I shouldn't have the control of that. And I think that's where some of my issues on the YouTube platform lately have been. And that's why I think people understand I've been a little more distant in my conversations on a whole, is because I do have to be careful about that. So I know a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
see
people, you know.
that I think that's the thing about it, you know. And I'm gonna be straight up, you know. AR and I, we've had our differences on this subject because AR is a firm believer in the right to the narrative. You know, that you can't control what another creator creates. You know, it's their channel, it's their narrative, it's their, you know. And oh my God, I would get so mad at him, you know, because number one, he wasn't seeing things my way. He was, you know, but the thing about it is he's such a proponent for it's their narrative, it's their channel, it's their theories, it's their rights, you know, and I admire him for that, you know. And I don't know, I did a video that was so bad. It was so bad. And, you know, I took it down, you know, out of respect for Kiki, for, you know, AR, you know, because it was a really bad video. And in my eyes, it wasn't, but, you know, so I came back and I did another video, and it's actually hashtag do no harm. And, you know, AR supported that one because, you know, it was done with feeling. It wasn't done with anger. So I get that and I appreciate that, you know. I mean, but the thing about it is I am a firm believer. My actions, my consequences. My actions should never cause the consequences to hit somebody else from my actions. Now, if my actions gets me slapped in the face, then that's on me. But it don't give me the right to get AR slapped in the face from my actions. And that's just my soapbox on it. You can have IDAHO goblins, you can have tunnels, you can have spirit boxes. I don't care what you have. Do no harm. And that's where I stand on it. I don't care what your narrative is. I don't care what your theory is. I don't care what you say on your platform. But if what you say on your platform could cause someone else to get hit with your consequences, I'm going to say something. I'm sorry. I don't care about my channel at that time. I'm going to say
But
something.
here's where I've got to interject a little bit. And Nina, I get your point, and trust me, I pull my hair out at times too, because I understand the nature of the bubble of safety, and I get it, and I agree with you. But you know what? At the end of the day, and you know this because you just spilled it out there. I am a person that says we all have the freedom and the right, and
And I
there's no
respect you for
reason.
that.
Right. I can't dictate what anybody's going to say. And, I can't tell you or Swamp to take a video down. I can only give you my opinion on the video, and then you make that choice. But I'm going to say this, and I know this is going to sound crazy, and people are they're in the chat. If we disagree with the content creator's content, if we disagree with what he's saying, if we disagree, or she, let's put it in a general purpose instead of as if it's directed at any one person. We have the right to not watch that channel, just like they have the right to talk to their crowd. We have the right to never venture to that channel. And that's the route that I have to force myself to do, because if I become overly vocal and demanding of an individual to try to stop their narrative, that's my wrong. That's my bad, because that's their right. That's their freedom. And people are going to believe what they choose to believe, not what that creator pushes them to believe. The people will choose to believe or not believe. And that's why we have our subscribers, and we have the people that follow us and love us, because they believe what we have to say, and they believe in us as people. And the other creator on the platform, whoever that might be, has that right too. So we have to tuck our emotions, and it's hard to do. We have to tuck them, we have to tuck them and fight for the better good through our voice, through our content, speaking truth to those that want to listen to us, not speaking truth to another creator or another content creator, because they don't have to listen. They don't have to believe in what we say. They don't have to promote what we have to say. But we can have a voice, and we can talk to those who want to hear us. But the main key, and I'm learning this as well, we don't need to mention anybody else. We just have to share our thoughts and our opinions. Don't direct it at anybody in particular. Share your knowledge, share your opinions, share your experiences, and do it in a positive way that people gravitate to, and people will listen, and people will follow, and people will love you more for it, which will expand the horizons to others also doing the very same. So I personally, I would rather positively say someone is accomplishing something if they have the people that are willing to listen to them, that are paying attention to the case, that want justice, rather than being negative towards them, because my negativity only drives more negativity. It only creates more of a division. It only creates more of an issue. And once we've done that, we've taken away from what is most important, and that's the victims in the case. Because at the end of the day, and I'm just going to end it with this, and this is a generalized statement. That content creator that I have an issue with, or another content creator that I may have an issue with, or a third content creator that I may have an issue with, and then all of them have an issue with, guess what? We all failed. We've all showed the greed that we have, the negativity that we have, and we've lifted nobody up.
I totally 100% agree. And, and I will say this, as a subscriber, as a mod, as a creator, as a viewer, we are all accountable for doing our own research. I'll tell anybody, do not ever just take the word of a creator. Do your research, and that's where I had to leave it was, if you don't do your own research and you just da 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 da, which way did they go, George, and you accept it, then, that's fine. I can't do that. So I have to choose to walk elsewhere. I made my video and I was good with my video because I didn't call anybody out. I did not call anyone's name, you know, and in my other video, I called out names, but I've learned that you don't do that. And I've learned also that I'm not the YouTube police.
Well, and that's, I'm learning lessons every day too. I'm not perfect either. I'm an emotional person that carries my emotions on my sleeve. I'm an individual that has no problem voicing exactly how I feel. I can be direct. I can be patient. I can voice my opinion in many different ways. And trust me, I have no problem getting into a scrap fight either. I have no problem. But one thing that I'm learning is the fact this isn't about me, and I'm definitely not the voice that is the most dominant. And I have to accept the fact that we are all individuals. We all make mistakes. We all have positive things to bring, and I just don't want any more drama or people thinking there's drama, because I've even learned this mistake. I ask a question that people think that I'm directing in a negative way, and it's a legitimate, just a question. So now I feel like I have to be careful that if I have a question, it's like, can I ask it? Because I don't really want this to come across as negative. I just have a question. So now what I'm deciding I'm going to do, I'm going to work with those that best suit my direction of where I'm trying to go. I'm going to work with those that work well with my personality. I'm going to work with those like yourselves that have an open mind, that have the capability of speaking your emotions and your feelings without getting hurt. And we can have a good conversation like this. And I'm going to just avoid channels or conversations that could bring out a negative side of me, because I don't want a negative side of me, and I don't want somebody to have that capability to bring that side of me out. So I'm going to leave it alone, and we're just going to keep moving forward, and we're going to make a difference based upon those that care enough to listen to what we have to say in a positive nature. And that's how we move forward, and that's how we make a difference. And I think you guys know this is what, even behind the scenes, you guys know this is what I say. Like, this isn't different just because we have a crowd watching us. I'm this way behind the scenes too, and I say it to people like Robert. What's that?
I said, no, I'm faking it. You know me. I always fake it too. I don't say what I think. But anyway, I don't want to interrupt, but my phone is going to die in about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Before we go, I'm going to put your handle up. Nina, just let us know. What do you have coming up? What's the next? Okay. So I will let you know. Nina is putting part 4 of her series out, and she hopes to have a live soon. I'll put her banner up one more time so you folks know where to find Warning Labeled Nina. We'll link her in the description below. So thank you, Nina, for joining us. I know you're going to hear that when you get the phone charged again. And then there were 2.
Swamp, I definitely think that you've had a long day, and I've got a few chores to do before the wife gets back. But let's do this again very, very soon. Let's get together. Let's do it again, and do something where we're very interactive with the crowd. I see Robert has a question. Will I help him with what Robert asked me? It kind of scrolled past me.
For AR, will you help me with my confidence? I'm sorry, I'm not helping you enough, but
no. And the one thing I want to say, Robert, you're like a brother to me. I know sometimes I come across as hard on you, but it's because I actually love and care about you. I'm hard on you because I know that you can really grow and be successful, and you already are, but I know there's more within you. So of course I'm And Swamp, you're all about it too. I mean, you are such a compassionate, help all person, and you even help me, and I'm appreciative of you as well. So, Swamp, you keep helping me with my confidence too, okay?
I'm here for you guys, whatever. And Robert, I just have to say your videos are coming across like your confidence is through the roof lately. So whatever you're doing, you need to stick with it. Whatever advice you're taking, your everything about your channel is headed in the right direction. Your thumbnails, your titles. I could take a few pages out of your book in a few instances. I just want to say that. AR, you said something I grasped onto when you were talking, which is something that just really I really feel, which is the audience. You know, you talk about the audience. It doesn't matter the size of your audience. It could be 2 people, it could be 10 people. The people who give you the privilege of giving you a platform. And that's who we're speaking to. Because at the end of the day, when all the noise is done, when everybody's quiet, all that matters is that you have a platform and people are willing to listen to you. And I think that some of the risks I don't take with my channel, they aren't because I don't want to give my viewers exactly what they want to see. It's because I want to protect that platform. Because at the end of the day, if I don't protect it in some way, then those 11,000 people who wanted to hear what I have to say aren't there. So we're cautious and we're protective. And I try to say it at the end of each of my live streams. If you don't remember nothing else when you leave here, just remember that I, Swamp Rose, am nothing without you, the viewer. And I truly mean that. I am so acutely aware of that. And that's why I say I have viewer driven content, and it always will be. I will talk the way I want, and I will talk about things that interest me, but it will always be viewer driven content because that's the relationship that we have on YouTube. And it's very special and it's unique. And there's not a lot of other places you can have a channel like this and a voice like this. I know there's other platforms, but they're just not like this. So I just wanted
Swamp,
to touch.
I think you do an amazing job, Swamp. I really do. I'm always impressed with the way that you just are there for everybody within your community. Even me behind the scenes, you're there every single day, no matter what I need or what's on my plate. You're always there, and I think that's what's so special about you. And it's something that I'm actually trying to draw from you to learn more about. And you ought to be really proud of yourself. I hope you are. I know your husband is. I know Robert is. I am. We're blessed to even be able to mingle with you, and that's why I don't do a lot of lives anymore, as you probably have noticed. But I'm very, very appreciative of you, and I always feel blessed to be able to come on here with you and speak with you and interact. And so, thank you. I guess that's a good word to use, is thank you.
I'm so humbled. I don't know what to say other than I'm just grateful you're here. I'm grateful you're back on the show tonight, and we're doing what we love doing, and we're with our audience in our live chat that we loved, and we tried to get to as many comments as we could tonight, you guys. We're reading them all, and trust me, we'll go back and we'll do a replay and watch this again. And thank you for leaving your comments. AR, thank you for facilitating this too, because you truly brought facts to this really situation that we didn't have much clarity on. And I think that there probably isn't anyone else who could have brought us something as close, as you did. So I just appreciate you coming up here and making a statement and getting in front of this. And we'll just see what tomorrow brings, I guess.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, including you, Kiki, is like, I'm not going to hide anything from you guys. As I get more information and I learn more about what's going on, and I'm given the thumbs up to share some of that, because it's not just me that matters in this conversation. There's other people involved in this. I will help get more out there on a truthful matter, whether it proves I'm wrong or right or whatever it might be. I'll help share that information. But at this point, I just want people to understand, and I guess that's how I'll leave it, is there is going to be information that is shared, probably on a widespread, manner, that is not going to be correct. And I just want people to be careful in what they take in as truth. Take a deep breath and allow the truth to come out, because the truth is going to come, and then people will better understand.
I don't think there's a better note to leave it on. So I guess we'll just we'll call it a night. I just want to say we love you guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening to our truth. Thank you to Nina for being here. I will make sure these creators are linked below so that you can visit their channels afterwards. And I hope you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. And AR, don't go anywhere. Stay backstage. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Have a great night. Thank you, everybody.